Well, you know, guys, it's May 4th, 2020. Wow. Crazy, huh? It is May. And we are SkyTour LiveStream, and tonight we are Mark and Carol Carl. Welcome, Carol. How are you?
Hey, Mark, welcome to you. And I'm fine. How's everybody out there? Good,
Oh,
I hope.
they're going to let us know, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly.
Carol Carl, as you know, is also, like me, she's a host on KGRA Radio. You might have noticed if you're trying to listen to KGRA this past couple days that KGRA has been down, and that's a known problem. They're trying to figure it out. It's a technical issue, and Race and Warren and Bill, New York Skywatcher, are working feverishly. I don't think Bill got a lot of sleep last night.
I am thinking, yeah, and just to have to say, they're down, but not out.
Yeah, exactly. To those just joining us and who have been here just for the first time, I'll just give you a quick tour. The upper left corner of the screen, that is the telescope control cluster. This controls telescope direction. We can also write in coordinates of places we want to go in the sky. And down here is this gives me access to the telescope computer, so I can actually put in some commands that I might want to put in. Down here is a filter wheel, and this is a wheel that has 5 different types of filters. Right now we're looking at white light, okay, and if I were to roll ahead, you'll actually see it change. There you go. And now we're looking at a narrowband filter, and the next filter is a somewhat wider narrowband filter. The next one is a spectral filter, which will be replaced with our new spectral system that was shipped as of yesterday. So I'm really anxious to get that and figure it out. And 4 is actually just a disc that's blocking the light. And that's because sometimes, with all the many photos we take and stack, we have to create a stacked image. And to do that, we need dark frames. So we have to roll that filter in, take a bunch of photographs of nothing, and then use that to subtract out the noise that the camera itself makes. And 5 is no filter. Now we're looking straight through, just like, as if you're looking through a telescope. Well, actually, you are looking through a telescope. Okay.
Funny.
And then down here on the lower left, that's me. Hey there, hi. And you can't see it, but let me just quickly give you a color other than red, so you can see what's going on over there. That's Gumby.
There's Gumby. Love that guy.
Once he was a little green ball of clay. All right.
Gumby.
And we can actually go blue. We can go red. We'll go for red for now. And then over here, of course, is the live view. We can get rid of all this stuff, though, so you can see it all by itself. Then over here on the right is the observatory camera showing us what's going on with the telescope at all times. All right. And it allows me some nice flexibility because I can actually zoom in here and move around and look at the telescope from various points and figure out if anything is going on that I have to pay attention to. Very important if you're running a remote system like this, where you aren't where the telescope is. The telescope is about 75 to 100 feet away in a dome. And when it's in Arizona, it's going to be 2,500 miles away. And it's all going to work just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We can also pan and tilt around. This is a pan and tilt camera, so we can actually do that. And this is actually the camera destined for the Arizona Observatory. And I bought another camera today that's going to go in. We're going to have some fixed cameras in there, plus the pan and tilt for live views. And then up here, this is the camera control system. It's just a portion of that part because we don't need to clog the screen with all these things. But it's kind of cool to see it, all right? And you can see that in this view down here, the operations view, I am running 2 monitors. Okay, This one here is the live feed from the observatory. This one here is the broadcast software. All right, and I have the chat up here. I can see everybody in the chat. All right, I see people that have joined. I see, let me just go through and say, Cypher 2 was the first one here. Marco is here. Lauren Newbert, hello there. And we got Tim F is here. And Tara D from Arizona is here.
Yay.
And Roxana is here. I've been trying to get Roxana to come onto this stream for a long time, and she's finally done it. Roxana, fantastic. It's so nice to see you out there. And of course, Terry Groff. Okay, may the fourth be with you. Oh, ba-dum-ba.
Ouch, love it. Ooh.
That's Terry's humor. He's a great guy, good friend. Known him for years. And then we have Dee Dee B. Dee Dee is, affectionately called the sniper. If someone says anything that is off color or undesirable, Dee Dee is right there, and they just go down in a blaze of bullets, let me tell you. She takes them out. We're so proud of her. She does such a good job, And, of course, Stacy Johnson is with us. Bobby Burgess is with us. And Stephen Mason, who asked me some questions about KGRA earlier, which I addressed at the beginning of the stream. KGRA is down. We're trying to figure out what's wrong. I'm not part of that, but they'll figure it out. And James Dugan is here. And I know I haven't read your posts yet, guys. I'm going to get to those. Donald Kunzer is here, and Laura Newbert I mentioned, and is here.
What do you know?
What do you know? Yeah, so it's a waxing gibbous moon tonight, but we're gonna try and look at a few other things as well. So you have to put me. Is that what that is, Dee Dee?
Yeah, right.
Actually, Dee Dee, you know what it is? It's called not having a right vocal cord. My right vocal cord is paralyzed. That's one of the few remaining problems that I have after having been a quadriplegic and blind 5 years ago. Actually, on the 24th of this month, it'll be 5 years.
Wow.
And
how do you celebrate that date?
I don't know. I don't know what to do. But yeah, it's actually pretty cool. That I managed to lumber through that. But I did have to. Dee Dee, it's okay. Trust me, you're a sweetie. And I did have to learn how to talk again. And it was funny because when I finally got moved out of the hospital, and what happened was, for those that most of you know, but I'll just quickly go over it. I had to have valves replaced in my heart because I had an infection in the heart valves. Go figure, probably from a dental procedure. That basically the bacteria got in there and they infected it, and the heart was quickly deteriorating, and I had to get the valves replaced. So during that surgery, it seemingly went fine, but when they went to wake me up, I wasn't waking up, and I ended up basically they put me in a coma to see if I'd survive. They actually weren't prepared for me to live. So now me inside, while I was in the coma, that was 5 days in the coma, I remember every second of it because I was wide awake. They said I wasn't, but after I came out of it and was able to talk again, I relayed all the conversations I heard while in the coma, and doctor said, no, somebody had to tell you that. And everybody in my family said, no, that's not true. We didn't tell him a thing. He was telling us things we didn't know. So, that kind of weird stuff is going on, So, So I had to learn how to talk. So when the doctor came in the first time in the rehab hospital, he said to me, and this was June 15th, 2015. He said to me, hello, Mark. My name is Dr. And he gave me his name. And he goes, I just want to let you know, you've had quite an assault on your body. And we're here to help you get back some of your mobility if we can. We can't promise anything because we don't know the extent, he says, but I've been doing this for 35 years, and our patients sometimes can get as much as 60 to 70% of their mobility back. So we're optimistic that you can get at least that. And I'm thinking, no, I'm going to get it all. I'm going to get it all back. And he basically said to me, you're going to be with us for about 8 to 10 weeks, and then you're going to probably have a 1 to 2 year recovery at home. This was June 15th, 2015. And I couldn't talk yet because I had a trach. There was a big hole in your neck, and you breathe through that. And it alleviates strain in the vocal cords when you're intubated and you have a ventilator. So it was interesting because I didn't think of that for a minute. I didn't think that was going to happen at all. And so what I did was I decided I was going to do what I had to do to recover myself. since I didn't believe their techniques would work, I came up with some of my own. Many of them I came up with during the comatose state, because during the coma, and this is something that I want medical science to examine, during the comatose state, I had perfect recall. I remember everything in my life like it was a file I was reading. I could go to a time in my life and bink, I could just see it. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I know exactly. Oh, I forgot about that. That is cool. I remembered every bit of it. And when they took me out of the coma, I lost that. And I almost wanted to go back in to recover that stuff, because I was actually creating a circuit inside to help doctors communicate neurally with my brain. I had ideas for how to do that. And the parts I didn't know, I just made black boxes that I knew there were neurologists out there that could handle it and take care of. So anyway, I ended up, as I was coming out of the coma, I felt my circuit slipping away. And I was screaming in my head, put me back, I've got to get my circuit. This thing is a medical breakthrough. You've got to use this. It'll help people. Because I knew that I had a problem, because I could hear them talk, and they were telling everybody, they told my family, well, at best we think he'll be a quadriplegic and most likely blind. So you'll have to prepare your home accordingly. And I'm inside here. Of course, I can't see and I can't move. And I'm thinking, that's not going to work. I'm not going to have that happen. I'm going to get past that. I can feel how I can rebuild these connectors between the neurons. I felt it. I don't know how else to explain it. So I ended up, over the course of the next few days, literally days, I figured out a way to start getting my body to move again. And it comes from being able to embrace the pain. Because the thing was, everything I touched, it felt like I was being burned alive. The nerves were just going crazy and just burning, So what I did was I actually decided to try to make use of that. And I did. I basically told myself that I was going to, that shuddering you see is the wind. We got quite a wind out there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, you can actually hear the noise.
It's not the moon. The moon's not doing that, right?
Yeah, the moon is dancing all over the sky.
Okay.
Oh, my, help. We must leave the planet now.
Right.
Okay, and this is the all-sky view right now. So we actually have a pretty clear sky right now. Yeah. If not for that bright, ugly moon, which is actually very pretty. So, I mentioned to them, I said to myself, I talked to myself a lot during this time because, well, I didn't have anybody else to talk to, and I couldn't see, I couldn't converse with anybody, so I spent time talking to me. And boy, the things you learn when you listen to yourself, let me tell you. So, what I did was I started embracing the pain, and I forced my eyes to watch my laptop, and they were playing some Netflix show. I think it was Seinfeld, I think. And I hated it. I couldn't stand it. But because it hurt, and I forced myself to look at what was the screen. I could see like a brightening, and that was the screen. The first day, it was like, this is hopeless, it seems, but I knew it was going to get better. I just sensed it would. So I watched that for hours. I think literally I was going like 20 hours at a time, maybe 22 hours at a time, and sleeping just a couple hours, and then getting back on that laptop and forcing my eyes to try and make sense of what was on the screen. And the doctors came in and they said, wow, your eyes are very bloodshot. And I couldn't tell them because they took the trach out. But what came out when I tried to talk was blah, blah, blah. I had to learn how to talk again. But what I was trying to say was, yeah, and I have a migraine too. But I need that, okay? I don't want pills. I don't want anything to kill the pain. The pain is telling the brain to fix itself. And that was the technique I used to get my whole body back. And now they said I'd be there 8 to 10 weeks and 1 to 2 years of recovery after that. With therapy, home therapy, all that stuff. Well, guess what? I went in on June 15th, and on July 3rd, less than half a month, they were discharging me because I had already gone well beyond what they thought was possible for the recovery. And they said, the doctor that said to me, I don't know how you did this. I said, well, I do. I've been trying to tell you, you know. And by then, by the way, I was talking a little better because I had a mirror. And once I got my eyes working again, and the eye doctor at the hospital, basically, he couldn't believe it. When I first came in, I was almost profoundly blind. A week later, I could roughly see the letters on the wall. And the week after that, I could read the letters that he put up on the wall. And I could actually see him scratching his head. His mouth was open, and he was like shaking his head like, I've never seen this. And I said, well, I know how to fix people like this. We can fix people who have this problem. I go, and I explained to him embracing the pain, but it was like I was talking to a wall. I wasn't talking about religion or taboo subjects or anything. I was talking about how you physiologically fix the human body when it's broken. And then I said to the neurologist, which I probably shouldn't have said, I said, we don't need neurologists. We need biological electricians. That's what we need. Biological electricians. Because I repathed my brain, okay? I didn't do it. My brain did it because it had to. It was enduring pain that was unimaginable. And no one wants to put themselves through the pain. But you put yourself through the pain, and that made me come up with this little metaphor. I said, train the brain with pain. Okay, yeah. That's how I remembered it. Okay, so it was sort of a simple way. And I went from lying in the bed, unable to move, to walking in a walker. And then when you get into this little gym in the rehab hospital, they have these little 3 steps. First thing they do is they harness you to the ceiling guide, and now you can't fall. Well, your brain knows you can't fall. So the brain doesn't try very hard. The brain says, okay, I'll just go through this. Okay? Because that's human nature. Make it easy, man. And they're thinking, we got to get the muscles back. No, you got to get the brain back. The brain has to come back. So when I walked up these 3 steps in the gym that they had, turned around, walked back down, and I knew that I wasn't in any danger because I was turkey lined up to the ceiling. If I fell, I would hang. I could go swinging around. Okay, and so what I did was I told them again, because I had a mirror and I was looking at my mouth, and I was saying, okay, what's going wrong when I try to talk? And so at first it was like, I'd say the words, how am I doing? And it came out like, I'm not doing. And I said, look at my mouth. That's not going right. So I went, how? And I figured it out. And I used my right hand, which I had brought back, and I made it shape the O sound. And that kind of made the brain say, oh, I remember that.
Wow.
And it found an alternate way to do it. Okay? And so, before I even left the hospital, I was speaking almost perfectly because I wouldn't shut up. And that's why they moved everybody out of my room. Actually, there was a guy that was complaining I was watching TV all the time and talking to myself. Yeah. And I was. Yeah. I'd listened to something on the show that I was watching. They could barely see, and it got better and better. And then I would try and repeat it. I'd repeat the words. And so that's how I trained myself. And it was really interesting. And then, so the doctor came in, and when the first time he came in and I could kind of talk, I said, and he still was convinced I wasn't going to get out for another 8 weeks. Okay. And I said to him, I have to be in Los Angeles in September. It was June 20th now or so. And I said, I have to do a talk at a conference in September, on September 19th. And he came over to me and talked to me like I was a little kid. He said, do you know what happened to you? And I said, yeah. On the operating table, I had a whole bunch of strokes because a clot got away and exploded in my brain and damaged all kinds of things. My visual center's all but gone, and I've had other assaults. One of my vocal cords is missing or no longer works. I said, I understand what happened. And he's like, well, how can you expect to be in Los Angeles in September? And I said, because I'm gonna be. And he shook his head. I could see him shake his head because this is like, I had been training my eyes for days and days. I could sort of see that he was shaking his head, and I said, or he said, he goes, well, he goes, well, that's confidence anyway. And he dismissed me.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So on July 3rd, when he walked, or July 2nd, when he walked in, all right, after everything I had done, he said to me, how you feeling? And I said, oh, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. And I sat up in the bed when he walked in, and I swung my legs off the bed. Still a little bobbly, you know, and he said, don't get up, don't get up. I said, you know, I've been doing this and getting up without anybody knowing it already. He goes, you should not be doing that. I go, yeah, I know. But if the brain thinks that I can be caught or safe, and, you know, it's not going to work hard to recover. That's the mistake that everybody makes. And he's like looking at me like, what? That's heresy. Heresy.
Right.
Burn the witch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like medical science was not ready to embrace that.
No.
Because like, okay, how many dudes and dudettes would be out of jobs at that point? And the idea that, you know, if the brain is like, if you will, put to sleep with painkillers, it's going to go, oh yeah, okay, let's just nap.
Yeah.
And not endeavor. And there you go.
Yeah. Wow, I got good focus tonight. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
The moon looks beautiful.
Gorgeous. Like Dee Dee said, Mark and his brain had other plans for his life. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I had this dream. I can tell you this. I wanted to do the remote observatory for way more than 5 years, okay? And when it came to be possible, I've gone out of my mind. This is really just phenomenal. You have no idea how much I enjoy this, and you guys make it all happen, you know? And
well, I mean, we're just so glad at this outcome. I mean, it's it's a staggering thing, and if you didn't explain that to anybody, we would never know. It just, it doesn't show. And that thing about your vocal cord, well, like, come on, it's a great voice you've got, sir.
Well, you know what? Now I can sound like Lou Rawls. Hey, I can sing really deep now.
There we go.
No, yeah, I mean, losing a vocal cord, I mean, they work in concert together, so I no longer have all the highs that I used to have.
Yeah.
And I used to sing, not professionally, of course, but I did sing quite a bit, and I can no longer do that. And you know what? It's okay. The alternative is not pleasant, okay?
Right.
So I'm okay with, what the outcome is now. But what happened was, when the doctor basically dismissed my ability to heal, okay, and change the outcome that he said I couldn't change, well, I knew he was wrong. I knew he was wrong. And the people in the hospital were superstars. They catered to, they catered to me. They worked to help me get back. So I owe them a huge debt, obviously. I mean, I can't say I did this on my own. I obviously did part of it. Yeah. And then when I showed them what I did, some of them were very receptive. And some of them were like, yeah, right. And they gave me that, yeah, right, with the eyes and shaking the head a little bit.
God.
Yeah, they didn't want to believe it. And that's okay. I know that we have to drag the medical community kicking and screaming to things sometimes. And this is an example of one of those things, So I know that it sounds crazy, all right, a little bit. I'm going to go down to 50 ASA, all right, which is the least amount of grain. And then we go to a little bit longer exposures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at the detail. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and now I'll take a picture here and see if it looks better. That other shot was really quite good. Let's see how this came out. And each one is going to vary because of the fact that the seeing, the wind is out there, and it kind of affects the cells that we look at. The cells of atmosphere, it can get in the way and really cause problems sometimes. Mm. But this little inset down here, you can see where we're looking in the moon. I like leaving that for you. Beautiful. Yeah, so it's focused, but, again, the turbulent air sometimes causes a problem. Yeah. This is the ray structure of Tycho coming up. I mean, it goes hundreds and hundreds of miles on the moon. And the moon's just over 2,000 miles in diameter. And, Tycho's ray structure goes a huge amount of distance. So anyway, finishing the last boring story.
Hardly.
After I climbed those 3 steps the first time, I told them I have to do something where my brain doesn't think it's safe. And they're like, "Are you out of your freaking mind?" You know what? They didn't want to hear that because they're, thinking about the insurance. I was thinking about my brain and getting my brain back online. And I said, I want to go up a real flight of stairs. And you should have seen the collective jaws opening up and the eyes widening. And 3 rehab specialists, what do you call them? Therapists, physical therapists, were looking at me going like, "Are you out of your mind?" And I'm like, "No. In fact, I'm in my mind perfectly, and that's why this has to happen." I explained, the brain has to know there's danger for it to actually work on overdrive to make sure it's safe, especially in a case like this.
Is that a chemical thing, do you think, like adrenaline, etc.?
No, I don't think it's adrenaline because my adrenaline was never kicked off. And the only time it would be is if I started to fall. I'd get an adrenaline rush, from a fall. But it's not. It's actually just has to do with the fact that psychologically, oh, that's gorgeous. The brain knows that, if it's safe, it doesn't have to work too hard. It's like, yeah, I'm okay. I don't have to work. Everything's fine. And so it basically sits back and says, okay, yeah, they got this line to the ceiling holding me up. I'm okay. But that's really not the way it should work. So I actually convinced them to take me to a real flight of stairs.
Whoa.
And by this time, I could only go about 10 steps with a walker. All right. And so I went to the staircase with him. I was in a wheelchair. And I look up this gigantic staircase. It's simply half a flight, up and then up again to the second floor. So 1 set of stairs is all they're going to let me do. I said, hey, better than nothing. So I get up and I start going up the stairs. And they go, wait, you got to wait for us. And they one put their knee behind my leg and, pressing against me to prevent me from collapsing or falling. And the other one had her hand on my back, almost pushing. And I basically stopped and I said, you guys, you can't touch me. And I said, it's nothing personal, but let me tell you what's happening here. And I explained, the brain has to think there's real danger for it to actually work on overdrive and repair itself. That's kind of what I told them. And they very, very, did I say very? Reluctantly, decided to sort of hang back. They had their hand about, maybe 6 inches from me. And she walked behind me but didn't put her knee into the back of my leg to hold me up. And that process worked. And I got to the top of the stairs, and I turned around all by myself, and I looked down the stairs, and I thought to myself, oh, man, what was I thinking? Look how far that is. I thought, I'm an idiot. I should never have done this. That's kind of what I thought. And then they said, you going to be able to come back down, or do we have to come get you? I go, I am coming back down. All right? And they said, and I might do it again. And one of the nurses said, oh, no, you're not. So I got down, I flopped into the wheelchair, and they brought me back, and I slept for the rest of the day because that was really exhausting. But you know something? No 3 stairs again. It was always the flight, after that. And it got easier and easier and easier very quickly because my brain was like, oh, God, not the stairs. I could fall. I better work hard. See, that's the basic premise of the entire thing. Basic premise.
Yeah.
So when I got on the walker, I'd be walking in the hall. And when you're walking in the hall, there's nothing to hang on to. You got a hallway, and you got maybe the openings of some of the doors into the rooms, but you have no way to, catch yourself if you fall. So what did Mr. Smarty Pants here do? I pushed the walker ahead about 5 feet, and now I'm sitting all alone on my own 2 feet. I've got to get to that walker, or else I have no support. So I did, and I could only do this when there was no one looking, because if someone was looking, they'd rush right over and say, don't you ever do that again.
But you gave your brain a goal, right?
I gave my brain a goal and danger. you know. And let me tell you, that really worked. And now it's been 5 years, the end of this month, that I've been, working, and I haven't been working the whole time. I only worked for like the first few months, just for the first few months, and then I had everything back, and it was actually, by the time September rolled around, I was walking through the airport and to the hotel in Los Angeles, and I gave my talk in Los Angeles. And that was funny because everybody was sort of going overboard, like, oh, get him water, get him something. Do you need help? No help. The brain knows what it's doing. And I try to explain, train the brain with pain, really, really interesting stuff. So then...
And am I correct in remembering that you passed this on to, was it a dentist in Florida?
No, Midwest. Yeah,
No,
I did.
Midwest, okay.
Yeah. I passed on to him because he had something like that happen, and he was going to lose his practice, and losing your practice is not a good thing. So I basically said, I'm no doctor, but I can tell you how I got better, and told him. And then 6 weeks later, I was doing one of these, a SkyTour LiveStream, and he came into the chat, and all in caps, he wrote, "Everything you said came true." I mean, isn't that crazy? And I was like, you couldn't put me in a bad mood after that. If the telescope fell off, that might have put me in a somewhat bad mood. But after hearing that news, it's like, you can't. Yeah, there's no way that you could be in a bad mood after that. What an amazing outcome that was,
It's just extraordinary, and I mean, we're so jazzed that it went down like that. Come on, what can I say?
Oh yeah, so am I. Look at this is Aristarchus crater here. It's just peeking out there now, and Aristarchus is one of the brightest areas on the moon. You can see the Aristarchus plateau right here, and you can see the shadow from it. This is a very high-end area, so you can think that the meteor struck this may have come in at a glancing angle. And when meteors do that, a little thing for you to see, and a way to understand that. When a meteor strikes the moon, it doesn't have to strike it head on, straight on. You look at all the craters, and they're roughly, every one of them is nearly circular, right? Roughly.
Yeah, right.
So you think, well, they're all just, the meteors are all coming straight down. No, they're not. And the easiest way to understand how the energy is distributed in such an impact is to skip a stone across the water. That's a very shallow angle. Skip, 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 skip. And every one of those circles that are radiating away from where the stone hit is indeed a circle, isn't it?
It is.
It's not an ellipse. It's not an oval. It's a circle. So the energy is distributed on the moon the same way. A glancing blow, the energy is distributed, boom, in every direction at the moment of impact. And that's what makes the craters circular. However, the material blown out is going to have the momentum of the original progenitor, the thing that actually struck the moon, in part. So some of it's going to get sloughed off to this direction. So when you look at Aristarchus, you say, hey, when Aristarchus was struck like this, okay, then a lot of the stuff got sent this way. And you can see it went plaff, right outside that location. Poof.
Yeah.
It went right outside here. Very little over here, mostly over here. So clearly the thing came in at a glancing angle this way to create that. And so just think the skipping stone analogy. And when people tell you, they give you all these crazy theories about why the moon is, all the craters are circular and they seem to be all the same depth. Well, they're not the same depth. In fact, they are so far from the same depth that it's incredible. And last night's stream, we actually used the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Quick Map. That's a quick map, and we can actually draw a line through a crater and then see its profile. It would make a profile line for the crater, and you can see the bottom of the crater, either a negative number or a positive number based on the mean radius of the moon. It's either below the mean radius of the moon or above it. In places like this down here, the lunar highlands, then most of the impact structures down here are all going to be above the mean radius of the moon because it's a higher terrain. So craters like this one, okay, when you look at a crater like this, all right, this crater here, the bottom of this crater, is going to be above the mean radius of the moon. Okay? But if you have a crater that's up here in one of the Marias, all right, then perhaps this crater is going to have a bottom that's below the mean radius of the moon. Okay? Because the moon is actually really kind of, it's not really spherical. It's sort of oblate. It's kind of weird. Oh, did you censor somebody, Carol?
I'm trying to listen. What happens when you pull your when you magnify what we're looking at on the moon? This happened last time. What happens is that the chat becomes so blurry I cannot read it with or without glasses, etc., contacts, blah blah.
Oh.
And so so I've got it on my phone, and I had no idea that my actions would like impact the chat. So oh my God, Karen, I'm so sorry, and thank you, Dee Dee. Okay, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna look at the chat, and I'm not gonna do anything except try to make it scroll up. But that was quite by tech user accident here. Okay.
Well,
okay.
I think that was Karen Belmont that you
Yes.
harassed.
And I'm so sorry, Karen. It's like, okay, from the bottom of my heart.
No, you certainly didn't mean that.
No, obviously not.
No.
I've got a question. When you scroll. See, look at this. With the words I'm using. There was a crater down toward the bottom, slightly to the right. There we go. And what is that? It looks like what is that? Sort of like a path, almost like a runway. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Depending on the amount of energy that a meteor hits the moon with, or a small asteroid strikes the moon with, it's going to make a splash, basically.
Okay.
And because the moon only has 1/6 of the gravity that the Earth has, when that impact occurs, the impacts aren't perfectly homogeneous. They're not the same in every direction, right? So some material might get sprayed this far out, and you can see these lines here. There's lines that are going out in every direction here, but only a couple this way and that way. So it's possible that this is Tycho, by the way.
Right? Okay, Tycho.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the impactor that made Tycho struck, it might have hit it a slightly glancing blow this way, making a lot of material go out here, and some backsplash this way. Okay.
So
now,
if we were, can I ask another ignorant question here about this?
No, it's not ignorant. People are probably going to enjoy this.
Okay, well, good, because somebody else may want to know. The two, there's a space between. There's the path going up on a diagonal from Tycho up. Okay, and does this mean that these lighter colored would they be ridges? Is that a different topography?
It's actually a slightly. Just imagine if you threw a ball bearing down into some baby powder in a container, and you threw it with a lot of force. A lot of that baby powder would be displaced and splash out. So where it lands, the ground area where it lands on the ground, it's going to be a little bit rougher, right? It's going to have a texture to it that is different from where it didn't land.
Right.
It's going to be sort of a random kind of piling and splash result that you're going to get from that. And that's what this area is. And if we look at a different crater that's similar in the way it was formed, this is Copernicus crater. Look at its ray structure. It's very different.
So that's okay.
Now Copernicus,
but it's from the same mechanism.
An impact.
Okay.
And then this is sort of splashed out too. And when you look at this, one of the things to notice is that the rays go in every direction. They're kind of equal on all sides, which kind of gives you a hint, possibly. Sorry I keep going in and out like that. It's a mouse wheel thing. It gives you a hint that maybe when Copernicus was created, the Copernicus progenitor, the thing that made the Copernicus crater, actually hit head on and splashed equally in all directions.
Wow.
Okay. With Aristarchus, we know that it didn't hit it hit kind of on an angle, so that some went here, but most of it went out to that way, so that it hit on an angle like this. But again, remember, they're round because of the same thing that happens with skipping stones on water. All the areas where the stone contacts the water, even if it's at a low angle, zipping along, are round. And that has to do with the energy distribution at that moment of impact. Okay, that's why craters are round.
Does that? I got another question. Does that spider web like snowflake like thing around the Copernicus? Would that perhaps indicate a difference in what the medium was into which the
Excellent. That's an
thank you.
excellent observation because if you notice, Copernicus was created in this vast lava sea, this flat maria on the
Hmm.
moon, and it's overlaying this vast maria on the moon. Okay, Tycho, on the other hand, was created in the highlands of the moon. Okay,
Mm,
material that might have wanted to go this way might have been blocked by high areas over here, and so was shielded from going out too far. But some of it managed to go out here, out there, and a lot of it went here. Okay, because the predominant impact was sort of probably on a slightly angular trajectory down into that crater. Okay,
hmm.
so the material here that was splashed out, the way it looks is definitely related to the topography of the area. All right, when it was struck.
Hmm.
Copernicus, same thing. The topography was mostly flat in all directions, and it was sort of a head-on hit, so it went all straight out.
Right.
Okay. In fact, it was like Apollo 14, I believe, that landed right about here,
Wow.
and they landed on one of the Copernicus rays. And the purpose of landing there was to make sure that they had a good understanding of what was inside the moon. Because by landing
Mm.
and sampling the ray material, you're getting a direct view of what's inside the moon below the surface. You know?
Ah,
Yeah.
but we know the moon is hollow. I mean,
Oh, here we go.
no, no, no. Yeah, that's an eye roll. But anyway,
Oh, that's an eye roll. That's all my eyes rolled.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I want to say hi
That's
to Marianne Robb. And I want to say hi to 24/7 Live Arizona Skies. How's it
hey,
going?
hey.
And Karen Belmont, who was so rudely
Oh God,
censored by Carol.
I am so. You have no idea how bad I feel about that. Oh my God, Karen, what can I do to make it up? Okay.
And you know what? Dee Dee saved you. She
She did.
she
See that? There's that
unhid
sniper
she
thing. Yep.
unhid Karen.
Yeah. Thank
Well,
you so much, Dee Dee.
you
Oh,
didn't do anything, Karen. That's not a problem.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
no. Hi, Keisha.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's Keisha Fowler. How you doing? And our wonderful Dee Dee's doing some wonders for us. She's great. I really love her. She's fantastic. And Ronald is out there, Mr. Radio.
Ronald, hello, hello.
That's right. Yeah, so it's so nice to have a wonderful following of people that are here. We have 36 watching now. Last night we had about 60 at the peak.
Ooh.
Yeah, really nice. Great people coming out. I'm actually pretty impressed. The moon is high in the sky. We've had some clouds wander through, but you'll notice it's really looking nice. Okay. Also up here, I pointed this out yesterday during the stream. Notice the difference in material here. This
Mm.
material is like a light brown, almost like the moon's made of chocolate. Mm-mm.
Ooh, yum.
And down here, it's more of a stark grayish, dark gray. And then here it's a lighter gray. And here it's this whiter light area. This part of the reason for that is that the terrain is sort of pretty. What's the word? It's fairly varied. Okay, I guess is the better word.
Hmm.
So being that it's a very varied terrain here with lots of ups and downs, it's sort of a confusing terrain, and it will tend to look bright as well. Yeah, but back to Aristarchus, it's the brightest thing on the moon.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing, and I think that being that we've been able to hang out here and see the moon the way tonight the way it is, it's looking really nice. So I want to just take one photo of the southern region here. We'll come up that area that you liked.
Yeah, and look at those bumps. Wow.
The craters, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the hills, yep.
Yep.
And I'm going to just take one more shot like this. All right. And now we look, and that is really nice.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you see how it looks so nice. This crater right here, this crater here is called Clavius. And for those that saw 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clavius crater is where the moon base was. And then the Tycho Magnetic Anomaly 1, TMA1, was inside of Tycho. So they took a moon bus from Clavius over to Tycho, and they saw the monolith in there. And then, of course, when they dug out the monolith, it made a sound, and off it,
Right.
the movie begins.
God.
Yeah.
And what a movie that was.
It was.
Is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
it
like
still
just
is.
that'll maintain forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And you know I work with Douglas Trumbull, who did the special effects for that movie.
Indeed. Yeah, I'll never watch that floating pen in space inside the ship again without thinking about how that was done.
That's
oh my,
right.
that you explained to me. Yep.
Yeah, well, Doug does a whole presentation. He did Close Encounters of the Third Kind as well with Steven Spielberg,
Yes.
and he does a behind the scenes of Encounters. He does a behind the scenes of 2001, behind the scenes of Blade Runner. He's got all these behind the scenes things that he does. He's really, really good at that. And he tells us how many of the effects were done that you just can't figure out.
Yeah.
Like in 2001 when I think it was Bowman who's jogging through the centrifuge part of the ship, and the camera stays on him right at his feet, and he's running, and he is really running.
Yeah.
Okay, and as he's running, the ship is going by, and you see that the cryopods go up over his head and then back down. Okay, the way that was done was that the camera was coming up through a hole, a slot, I should say, in the bottom of the centrifuge set. And
wow.
it was actually the centrifuge set had two halves, and they were spinning together, and Bowman was jogging on each side of that as it was rolling. The whole thing was rolling, and it was like 30, 35 feet in diameter. Just the coolest thing. Then at the end of the movie, you see, is it Bowman, right? Who's looking in the mirror, and he's in a spacesuit.
Yes, I love that scene.
Yeah, and the camera is sort of behind Bowman, and you don't see the camera in the view. Now, we take that for granted today because, of course, we know how to comp out a camera, how to make it come out, rotoscope it out or whatever. You can
Right.
get rid of the camera. But back then, there was no such technology. So Kubrick still wanted this shot where you're looking over the shoulder of Bowman in the spacesuit, so you see him from behind. You only see the spacesuit of him from behind. And in the mirror, you see Bowman looking back in his spacesuit from the other side of the mirror, in the mirror.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, how did they possibly do that back then? The way they did it, I thought was pretty amazing. They actually built a duplicate bathroom, because that was where this was, through a square opening that was meant to be the mirror. And they put an actor on the near side, in front of the camera, wearing an identical spacesuit. And on the other side was the actor playing Bowman in his spacesuit, looking through the opening. And they mirrored everything in the bathroom. And they made a mirror copy of the bathroom on the other side. And so it was actually two rooms, but Kubrick got a shot. I thought that was pretty amazing.
He certainly did get a shot.
Yeah.
I think Keir Dullea was the actor.
Yeah, there you go. Keir Dullea,
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to welcome Daniel Whitaker. Hey, Daniel. Thanks for coming out. And Rockstar, thanks for joining us tonight. Nice to see you. We got some...
Rockstar says that's his favorite movie, by the way.
Really? 2001, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw it when I was, I was 9 when I saw it. And I thought, what the heck are all these monkeys? Yeah, I thought it was
monkeys in space.
I thought it was a space odyssey.
Right.
Where the heck are the monkeys? And what's that stupid black thing? And then they threw this bone up in the air, and the camera follows this bone, and then suddenly it's a space satellite going around Earth that's used as a segue to the next thing. And I'm like, okay, space stuff, yeah.
Yeah, bring it. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was ingenious.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and Ronald's complaining about your audio.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Yeah, well, you sound okay to me.
Okay, and I mean, like, I'm just kind of like muttering here, little commentary, little color stuff. So I don't know how important my audio actually is, but thank you, Ronald, anyway.
Your audio, Dee Dee says, I think it's you, Ron.
Okay. Oh no.
See that, Ronald? Yeah, that'll teach you for arguing with DDB.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
is on top of it.
And Rockstar says Close Encounters was great. Yeah, it really was. And what's interesting is, Doug came up with the UFOs in Close Encounters, and we did a movie. We're doing one now on Nikola Tesla, actually, up there, and we went to Niagara Falls. We did helicopter work over the falls and stuff. But the movie is all in 3D, and it's amazing to see how this works when you're doing this in 3D. Absolutely incredible, because we're doing it at 120 frames per second in full 4K in 3D. You think you're looking through not a screen. It feels like you're looking through a window when you're watching this footage. Oh yeah, you feel like you're there. Oh yeah, it really is extraordinary.
Now with everything sort of on hold, I was going to ask you about any sort of prospective release date, but yeah. July. Oh my gosh. And are they hoping movie houses will be open again, or will it be streamed, or?
Yeah, good question. This has thrown everybody for a loop. I want to say hi to Jockey1315. He's saying, can we see the landing site of Apollo 11? Unfortunately, we can't. I can only zoom in about this far, and that's still hopelessly little. If you want to see, though, the landing site of Apollo 11, we can actually see that. But you have to go to the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Quick Map. That's LRO Quick Map. If you look that up in Google, the first link brings you right there. And then there's a flyout menu on the left side, and you click on named features or featured objects. And the featured objects are going to show up as little red dots here and there. And they're the landing site and of all the Apollos and the surveyors and the rangers and the Russian craft. And you zoom in a little bit. You zoom into about like this far, actually, and you'll see the names like Surveyor 6, Surveyor 2,
Oh, that's cool.
And then you can zoom in and actually see these things in some cases. Like for all the Apollo sites, you see all the paths for where they walked or drove the rovers. Okay. You see the experiments glistening in the sunlight. Okay, you see the base of the lunar modules. So I think it's pretty cool.
That's unreal. That is just, extraordinary.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't have words.
Oh yeah, well, use your words, Carol.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll try to the best of my ability. And here's another just a strange thought that crosses my mind.
Yeah.
Not a far journey. The idea that there are a lot of people who are on board for structures on the moon. Artificially created structures on the moon. Some people say, bridges, cities, etc. And you obviously you would refute that, but what do you think they're looking at? What do you think they're capturing in these photos? Just moon geology?
In some cases, yeah. I'm not against the possibility that visitors to our planet might have set up shop on the moon. But with the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter out there, there'd be no reason, to hide any of that, because it's not, people say, well, we'd panic. No, this world nowadays, they'd say, wow, cool, we love it. We always knew. Yeah. They wouldn't panic about it. There'd be no panic. There wouldn't be riots in the streets, Religion wouldn't be upheaval, suffer enough people, because the Pope himself said if aliens turned out to exist, that wouldn't bother our doctrine whatsoever.
Right, and at some point, I think there was some kind of, part of an encyclical from the Vatican that they should be given burial rights, Christian burial rights, if there are aliens.
Right.
And they came here. Right. So it's, that's just, it's not outside the realm of possibility. I do definitely get that. Oh, Marianne's going to bed because she's got to work early tomorrow. So good night, Marianne. Sweet dreams.
Yep. Genghis, welcome. Yeah, and honestly, they don't have to go to the moon. I can tell you why. A short survey of the human race on the planet shows where we can go and where we can't go. So any extraterrestrials are going to go where we are not. And where are we not? In the deep ocean. we're
Oh.
not in the deep ocean. Okay, we are down a few thousand feet. In some cases, a few hundred feet. Normally for naval submarines, believe it or not, that's it.
Right, the
And
Marianas Trench or Mariana, I don't know if it's plural or singular, but
Marianas, it's
yeah,
Marianas.
and that's kind of am I correct? Is that about as deep as we've gone?
Yeah, but only for a few minutes.
Yeah,
Jim Cameron did it in his little
right.
vertical sub. The Trieste did it with Auguste Picard. I did a mini series where I created a Trieste and I recreated that bottom landing at the Marianas Trench. So I spent a lot of time learning what happened there and everything that happened, things that went wrong. And the truth is that we're only at the bottom of the deepest ocean for a few minutes at a time, and then not for many, many years after that. So if you're going down and you're going to want to hide from the human race, you just have to basically go almost anywhere in the ocean and go down to the bottom and just hang out there. Because frankly, if you're an extraterrestrial, you can go anywhere you want. And why do I say that? I say that because if you ply the gulf between the stars, all right, as easily as you do, then working out the pressure and basically changing the sign on your pressure equation so that you end up keeping out the pressure of the water is not going to be a problem. It's going to be kind of a no-brainer.
It's a kiddie pool at that point.
It's a no-brainer for you if you've got that
Yeah.
technology, because you're going to be using different technology to move. Like, for instance, everybody knows, most people know that some decades ago, I was a guest of the Navy on a nuclear submarine. And literally a guest, because I had done some work. They said, hey, you want to go for a ride? And that's what they called it. Okay, people take issue with that, but that's what it was called. Now, what actually happened on the boat is nothing to talk about, but I was seasick, and so I went to the sonar area, which is sort of a dark area, and I was just listening to the rhythmic pulses of the boat and trying to get my stomach back. Because on the surface, the boat rocks and rolls like a superstar, but once underwater, it feels like all of you feel now. Okay, you don't feel anything. Maybe a little vibration in your feet, and that's it. Right. So that's when something whipped through the sonar very quickly, and the kid running the sonar called the executive officer over and said, "Sir, I got a fast mover." Basically, this is a summary of the story, and the XO asked him the bearing and the range, and the kid told him, which I couldn't hear because subs are noisy. The Navy's pride is that sound never gets out of the sub, right? And but when he said the speed, the XO says, "How fast was that thing going?" And the XO is looking at me. I mean, not looking at me, but looking in my direction, because the kid is sitting to my right, and the kid's looking away from me, talking up to the XO. So I couldn't hear his responses other than when he was incredulous at the speed the thing was moving, because he said that loud. He said,
Yeah.
And when the XO said, "How fast is that moving?" the kid was like, "Holy, expletive deleted. Holy expletive deleted, Batman." He basically said, "It's moving several hundred knots, sir."
God.
And the XO didn't seem phased at all. He goes, "Can you confirm that?" And he confirmed that it was moving several hundred knots. And the kid didn't know what to do with it. And sonar operators are supposed to know what to do with everything. That's how they're trained. He couldn't figure out what to do with this. And the XO said, "Okay, son, log it and dog it." "Sir, yes, sir." And that's it. XO walked away. Wait, what?
Whoa.
So I got up and went over to the XO and said, "XO, I'm familiar with these fast movers. Is there anything I can help you with?" He looks at me and says, "Mr. D'Antonio, are you having a good trip so far?" I go, "Yes, sir, I am." He says, "Let's keep it that way." Big smile on his face. He turns and walks away.
Yeah. End of story.
I was 1 inch tall.
End of conversation.
Yeah, but then I did a job for the Joint Chiefs a few years later. And when I delivered the project to the Chiefs, I actually had the opportunity to be with one of the chiefs at his home in Maryland. And I asked him, "What can you tell me about the Fast Mover program?" You know, everything in my brain said, don't ask, don't ask, don't ask. And then I heard the words coming out. Anyway, it turned out that he said to me the following. He said, he could have said, I don't even know what that is, I'm sorry. Or he could have said, beats me.
Yeah.
Instead, he said, I can't talk about that program, I'm sorry. I mean, that was amazing because it told me that it exists. And it told me that it's an incredible program. You know, and we now have since known that with the Nimitz incident, we now know that clearly, you know, some crazy stuff has been seen and has happened.
Right, and a segue right into Daniel Whitaker's comment. Didn't the Nimitz release of the UFOs sort of imply that they have a base down there? I think they move through the water as easily as the air.
That's quite possible. That's quite possible. And that explains, and there's a lot of people that would agree with you, Daniel Whitaker. You know, it's very possible that that's true. And I think that we'd have to consider that that's a likely scenario. You know, a likely scenario. So, okay, one second.
Oh, that wonderful fleet is in again. Look at that.
I know. Yeah, no worries. I just have to... this is something that I'm working with the people with this company that makes this. So
right.
It's not a big deal. It'll be back here in a moment. Sooner or later. All right, hold on a sec. Actually, let me...
Yeah, Dee Mark couldn't help himself. Right, exactly. He had to blurt that out. Yep.
What?
Well, we all know that feeling. It's like suddenly, you know, there's this disengagement of your sensibility from your mouth, and it's kind of like you got to know, and that I think you know comes from the subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Dee. I absolutely should not have gone down that path. I should have just kept my mouth shut, and as I thought, don't say it, I was saying it. Gosh, you know, what a nut I was. That was crazy. However, I did not lose a friend on the Joint Chiefs. It was fine. But man, I was just beside myself with the fact that I actually said it. I can't believe I said it. Crazy me.
Yeah. Crazy, brilliant you.
No, just crazy.
Well, you know, I guess it depends on whom one asks.
Yeah. And Daniel, to answer the other part of your question about saying that they might have had a base down there, it just seems logical to many of the people that look at this possibility that there might have actually been, or might very well be, a base that is down there that has alien extraterrestrials. Again, like I told you, they're going to go where we are not. And that's where we're not. We're not in our deep ocean. You know? Now, speaking of deep oceans, because I couldn't do my KGRA radio show yesterday, today's Monday, right? I think today's Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Today is Monday.
Okay, good. Yeah, so yes, yesterday. Because I couldn't do my KGRA show yesterday, I ended up writing this whole show that I couldn't do. I'll do it next week. But it's going to be on astrobiology. And so I took Mars, Europa, and Saturn's moon Titan. Europa is Jupiter's moon. Now, Mars is the largest of the two others. And Europa is about 1,940 miles across. And Titan is about 3,000. And that's all three of those planets and moons have something in common with each other and the Earth. And so that the show is going to be about that. And I spent a lot of time. I actually I'm going to talk a little bit about the chemistry too, because but in ways that everybody can understand. I'm not going to leave anybody in the dust. I wouldn't do that to you. And I really, really wanted to do it yesterday, and I really was upset that KGRA was down, and
Yeah.
of course, no more upset than the people at KGRA. I can tell you that they were
Oh,
not happy.
indeed. Hair tearing time, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. So, really, really, really tough, But I had a good time. I got a lot done, and it really came out well. And so, give you an idea of what we're going to talk about.
Oh, swell. Look at that.
Yeah, Carol's seeing the actual script that I wrote, and because I'm sharing my screen with her. But we're going to talk about the possibility of life on Mars and what that means. We're going to talk about the Martian meteorite that landed in Antarctica that we looked at, and it has certain types of things that indicated that it might have had life. And that's actually, the jury's still out, believe it or not, on that.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not. And we're going to talk about Europa, which is Jupiter's moon. And we're going to talk about the fact that Europa actually has a very tenuous, thin oxygen atmosphere. It really does.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's very thin. And it's O2, just like here on Earth, except it's not nearly thick enough. And it actually happens by something called photolysis, which is it's photodisassociation process. So when ultraviolet light hits the water vapor that comes off of Europa, because the ice on the surface, it rips apart the H2 and then the O, and so you have these free oxygen atoms rolling around, and the hydrogen's lost to space, and the oxygen atoms will combine with each other under certain conditions, and so we have a lot of O2, but it's a very tenuous. It's not a lot. We can't just go there and breathe.
Would that be would that come and go, or would that be an all the time condition?
It's an all the time condition, but
Okay.
It could be increased depending on whether the finding that it has geysers like Enceladus at Saturn
Right.
is really occurring. The thought is that maybe it is, and Enceladus is showing diatomic hydrogen, H2, and it's showing carbon dioxide. And that's like, ooh, that's amazing, because that could be a precursor to, or an indicator basically, that maybe there's some other processes going on under the Enceladin South Pole. And that could be that, and we know there's hot spots down there. We can see the thermal vents. Cassini was able to map those. So there are thermal vents on Enceladus, and it's only 300 and some odd miles across, and it has an ocean under the ice, just like Europa does. But Europa's ocean can be anywhere from 40 to 100 miles deep,
Wow.
And I did a calculation, which I'm going to share too next week, about how much the ice actually weighs down on the surface of that under ice ocean. The pressure is pretty high, and actually, when I calculated it, I had to do it a few more times because I couldn't believe it was so high. And in fact, it is that high. So we think about high pressure, but if you think about it, life on our planet exists at the bottom of the Marianas Trench too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they live within a certain pressure range. These creatures, and this means that when we have creatures like that are there, then maybe Enceladus and maybe Europa can also do that, And
That
so
is so exciting. Right. Extremophiles. Right. Yeah.
That's
I'm seeing that
exactly
word
right.
there. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so these extremophiles are kind of cool. Now, then we have Titan. Now, Titan's at Saturn, and Titan is a very, very cold world. However, when the Huygens probe left Cassini up in orbit and was coming down through the atmosphere of Titan, which is somewhat smoggy, it's mostly nitrogen, but the methane gives it this weird orange kind of glow. Not really methane, but these things called tholins, which are, they're polymers that are known as intractable polymers. That just means they're hard to deal with. They're kind of like a brownish, tarry substance, and they can get made into like an aerosol and put up into the atmosphere, and that's what happens at Titan. And Titan is, like I said, it's only 3,000 miles across. Earth is 8,000 miles across, and the atmospheric pressure on Titan is higher at the surface than it is on the Earth. It's 1.4 atmospheres. And that's amazing because, if you think about it, when the Huygens probe was coming down, it saw rivers, it saw lakes, it saw mountains, it saw plains, it saw dunes, and it saw runoff where areas where liquid was running off. So, but that's where it ends, because at Titan only gets about a hundredth, about 1% actually of the sunlight that the Earth gets. So the temperature on the surface of Titan is minus 179 Celsius. And if you're wondering in Fahrenheit, that's 290 Fahrenheit below zero. Kind of cold.
Yeah,
Kinda
a little
cold.
chilly.
Yeah. And here on the Earth, we have a water cycle, right? We have water evaporates, goes into clouds, the clouds rain. It happens on Titan too, but it's methane. We get methane clouds, we get methane rain. And the lakes are not water lakes, and the rivers are not water rivers. They're ethane, another complex hydrocarbon. And it's, again, so cold that you get that, and it will look really odd. So watching the descent, and there's a beautiful descent video that you can watch of Huygens coming down to land on Titan. You watch that and you think, wow, we're there. This is amazing, And it really is amazing. So, hey, we actually think that Titan kind of represents what Earth could have been if it was in a deep freeze, chemically. Yeah, chemically.
So many comparative components.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And then we look at how Earth. We're going to look in that show. We're going to look at how Earth, Mars, Europa, and Titan are all similar, have similarities in the way they formed. Now, how we turned out, of course, is very different than how those other worlds turned out. However, we're going to talk about why that is true. So, I figured I'll take the opportunity to have an extra week to actually really add some more detail to that show.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. I also want to say hi to Tina, who is here. Tina Peterborough is here. How you doing? A new miniature schnauzer.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, I want a puppy. My cat doesn't agree.
That is so cool. Tina, I'd like to know, your miniature schnauzer, what kind of a schnauzer is he? Does he have a big nose? He'd be a schnauzola schnauzer.
Let's go into retro comedians. It's a Jimmy Durante dog.
Yeah, right. I tell ya.
There we go.
Yeah. Laura asked a question. Isn't the atmosphere kind of breathable on Mars as well? In terms of the amount of the atmosphere, believe it or not, we do see clouds on Mars. We do see it has an atmosphere. We do use parachutes to land on Mars and have to slow us down in the atmosphere. But the fact is, a Martian atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide. So, and it's also not very thick. Mars lost a lot of its atmosphere over the last several billion years, believe it or not. It used to have a lot of water.
Do we know why that happened?
Pretty much. We have some good ideas. Mars had a lot of impactors that struck. It used to have a lot of water. It had a lot of ocean areas and rivers. There's massive runoff areas. And basically what happens is when you look at how Mars operated over, say the last billion years or so, one of the things that we noticed was that Mars doesn't have a magnetic field. Mars doesn't, Earth does. Europa even has a magnetic field as a moon. And that's probably due to the dynamo effect that goes on in the core of like the Earth and maybe Europa. Well, Mars used to have a magnetic field, which means its big, thick atmosphere it used to have was protected. But it's no longer protected from the sun's radiation. And if our magnetic field stopped tomorrow, our atmosphere would almost immediately begin thinning out. Why? Because the solar energy of the ultraviolet especially striking the water vapor in the atmosphere directly. The ultraviolet radiation would actually do that photolysis thing I was telling you about before, the photodisassociation from the light breaking apart the molecules. And the hydrogen would get lost and the oxygen would now be free to go wherever. And on Mars, where the oxygen went was down into the ground. And it began combining with iron compounds and formed various versions of hematite. Okay? And hematite, one of the variations of hematite is something called Fe2, 2 irons, and 3 oxygens, Fe2O3. And we know that classically as rust. And
which never sleeps. Rust never sleeps.
That's right. And it also is what gives Mars its color. Mars is a rusty old planet. So I think that's pretty cool, isn't it?
It is incredibly cool. It's almost as cool as Tina's description of her puppy. Okay, he's got, where is it? He's black with white mittens and blue eyes.
Oh, that's so cute.
What's his name, Tina? But anyway, I digress.
I wonder if she even gave him a name yet.
Possible. She said, Tina also says, I just read that magnetars might be responsible for FRBs, for fast radio bursts. Yeah.
Tina, I love you. You know what? This is great. Okay.
That is exceptional.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. We did a SkyTour radio, had to be a couple months back, and we talked about the magnetar theory with FRBs, fast radio bursts. And it is true. And I'll explain how that process may work, that we think in a moment. But I did want to answer one other question. Donald Kunzer was asking, the atmosphere is too thin on Mars, but we could crash some comets on the surface if we had the technology to do so. A very good point, Donald, and actually a great idea. It's been thought of, and you're right. To add more water and raise the water content in the air. Well, here's the thing. The pressure on Mars is around 6 millibars. Okay, compare that to 1,000 millibars here on the Earth. Okay, you can see it's a very, very low pressure compared to Earth. And that 6 millibars is very close to something called the triple point of water. Now, what's the triple point? The triple point of water is that place where water might just as likely be ice as water vapor as liquid. Because there is that magic zone where that can happen. And it's all related to pressure and temperature. As the pressure goes down, well, the water is going to boil away and become vapor. However, as the temperature goes down, some of that water that might want to boil away could also be turned to ice. And you can see how you can have liquid water and ice water and water vapor, all around the same time, and that's the triple point. And it's odd, people would think, that the Martian atmosphere is 6 millibars, which is kind of right where the triple point of water is. And it didn't make sense for that to be there. It was odd. So it turns out that after studying the Martian atmosphere, this is something that Mars is doing itself. And here's why. Let's suppose that you could increase the water content on Mars. Crash your comets, Donald. Great idea. Now that water gets on the planet. Now we have, say, giant lakes everywhere on Mars. We're happy. We're going to start terraforming Mars. But now something else happens. Okay, the water begins to evaporate. We see clouds. The pressure goes up. And the CO2 in the atmosphere now finds the water. Now, CO2 loves to dissolve into water, all right? Whether seawater or freshwater. And that the water is something called a carbon sink. And that CO2 goes down into the water. And now as it does that on this vast tracts of beautiful ocean that you've made up there, well, now the pressure is dropping because the CO2 is leaving, okay? And as the pressure drops, the water begins to evaporate faster and boil away faster, all right? And as it does that, now the atmosphere is thinning out and the water's boiling away again. And it gets photodisassociated like we talked about with the ultraviolet radiation from the sun. And now we're back where we started. the atmosphere is back down to about 6 millibars, because once it gets there, it's relatively stable currently with the way Mars is now. So in order to terraform Mars, we have to do something else. And that something else is that we have to, once again, figure out a way to protect the Martian atmosphere from being ripped apart by the solar radiation. And that's where we have the concepts like we've talked about, where we actually take a generator of a magnetic field that we can come up with and put it at a place between Mars and the sun that is like a few million miles from Mars, but in the direction of the sun. And it would cause a giant magnetic field. It would create a giant magnetic field which the sun's radiation would cause to drape over Mars and protect the planet. And now the young atmosphere that we can throw comets at could stay once the process began. Now, once the CO2 starts going into the water, yes, the pressure's going to drop, but then the water's going to evaporate and boil away, but then it won't get photodisassociated. It won't get split apart, and the process can continue, and over time, the atmosphere will get thicker and more dense once again, because the Martian magnetic field will have sort of returned, although simulated by our technology. Believe it or not, that's actually a real project on the docket at NASA. They'd like to do this.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and basically it's a terraforming process for Mars. Now earlier in the stream here, someone asked about terraforming the moon, and also I think it was Laura maybe who said, would we go to Mars, or would we go to the moon as a first stop? Clearly, I think we have to go to the moon as a first step, because without going to the moon, we have to get to the moon in order to be able to test technologies that will take us to Mars. What's that mean? It means building things in orbit. We should build ships and stuff in lunar orbit. At 1/6 the gravity, we would actually be able to put out ships in orbit around the moon, and then leaving lunar orbit is much, much easier than leaving Earth and going into Earth orbit and then leaving the Earth gravitational field. So, and we don't have to worry about the Van Allen radiation belts, which are only our magnetic field that has trapped solar energy particles, the solar wind. The trapped solar wind in our magnetic field is what makes the Van Allen belts. Okay, so I think that's the process. So we would actually go to the moon as a stepping stone, but there's things in the moon we want. You see the different colors here. I mean, these represent, let me take a photo here. Okay, look at it this way. Okay, these different colors represent different mineralogy up here on the moon. Okay, there's helium-3 up here, which is actually a necessary ingredient in fusion reactors, which we don't have yet, but we're going to need. And there is titanium. There are lots of other metals. There are many types of materials up here that we need to build spacecraft and to refine and make metallic craft. And so we would mine that and use it. I just love this area on the moon, guys, because you can actually see so many different colors all in one view. And this is real color. This is how the moon really looks. You're so used to it looking just like black and white, In fact, when we look at the moon, okay, I'll show you. When we look at the moon, we tend to think that maybe the moon, it being black and white, it looks kind of like this. Okay, let me see if that actually does it. Trying to actually show you how the. Am I in the wrong? I might be in the wrong thing. Oh, I'm in the. Hold on, I'm in the wrong. I happen to be in the wrong one. Sorry, I went to the wrong location. What I'm gonna do is so. For instance, if we look at the moon, and if I turn this on now, okay, and we look now at the moon, you see how the color is exaggerated there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now if we really exaggerate it, okay, it really points out
Whoa,
the
it sure
areas.
does.
Yeah, it points out the areas on the moon that are different. Look at that.
Oh my.
Okay, so this is sort of a false color view that I've generated here, but notice all these different areas. These are different locations of different types of materials on the moon. Okay, yes, we have olivine and so forth from the impacts and the magmas and the lavas. We also have other materials. We have, like I said, the titanium. We have helium-3 mixed into the lunar soil, which is called regolith. Okay, all right. But many people think when you look at the moon that it doesn't, you're not used to the moon looking like this. You think it looks like this. You think it looks just gray, but it's not gray. It actually has color to it, and that's this right here. That's what we're showing. So we're seeing the moon as it is in sort of a true color. And it is beautiful, Tara. Thank you. You're right. It is gorgeous.
But there's a lot of, if you really, really look, and what I've learned from you at this point is, but look at the reds, and look at the browns. They're almost extreme, and they're certainly not black and white.
No, in fact, there's certain areas too where the border is really extremely pronounced, like right here.
Right.
This is a different type of lava that erupted onto the surface than what's around here. Most likely, this is the older one here. This is the newer one that erupted over it. See, we see that this was a giant impact. See, it's circular.
Right.
This was an impact. And then there was another one here. Okay. And there was another one here. And this one happened first. Okay. This one then happened. Okay. Then this one happened after that. You could tell the order of events just by looking at the way the features look. For instance, this is Mare Imbrium over here. All right. And the Mare Imbrium impact occurred. Right. And it occurred after this was made over here. Okay. And when the impact occurred, it filled in this area of the impact. All right. And so this might have been a gigantic crater. Okay. But then it was filled in by the lavas flowing from this impactor here. Okay. And this used to be kind of a highland area, kind of like near Tycho, where it's all bumpy down there. A highland sort of like this up here. All right. But when the Mare Imbrium basin filled in with lava, this is the only stuff showing through because those were the tallest mountains. There's other areas that are forever hidden beneath the surface that were covered by the lava flows that came out. So there's a lot of this going on in the moon. And looking at the order of events, when you look at these seas, these areas like this, all the cratering that occurred on them, of course, occurred after this impact that made this original gray area. All right. So these are all subsequent impactors. Okay.
Yeah. So a layer higher, so to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And so you have to think of that chronology when you look at the moon. And I can't look at the moon without trying to figure out that chronology. It just is crazy,
Yeah.
And like we see areas on the moon where, okay, like we'll see here where you have a ray structure that seems like it's going predominantly in this direction. Okay. That's because the impactor probably came in at an angle. It's still going to make a round crater, but splash goes that way,
Right.
Okay. And there's a number of craters on the moon that show us that very same thing. Namely, this one over here. Okay, you see that one? This is actually a double crater. It's hard to see because I literally have to refocus to get this part of the curve. And it came in at such a shallow angle. It hit once, and it actually skipped like a skipping stone. But it was a slow speed impactor, relatively speaking, and so it could actually bounce and bounce again, And when it did, it splashed a very direct ray out from it. Not going this way, not going that way, but just straight out. Really,
So the one
really
on the
odd.
far, I just got interrupted to see if I can clarify.
Yeah.
The one on the right was the first impactor, and then the one on the left was the second.
The same impactor. It skipped.
I see.
You remember we talked about
see.
skipping
but it
stones?
skipped like the stone. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah.
So it hit first on the right and then on the left?
Yeah, but it hit hard
Yeah.
enough so that this was its final resting place. It hit there and then it hit there and, of course, disintegrated and then splashed that way. Very, very shallow grazing hit. It might have been actually orbiting the moon as a piece of debris. And when it finally hit the moon, it was really already traveling almost in orbit around the moon. So it really hit at a very, very shallow glancing angle. And it could be that the moon's gravity broke it apart. We're not sure. Maybe this is where one piece hit and the second piece hit, or maybe it's just one that bounced. It's probably more likely that it was actually two pieces, but that flies in the face of what people suggest. But have you ever thought that the moon would be this colorful, guys? I mean, that our moon is that colorful. You look up at it in the sky, and you don't see that, and you go, how come I can't see that? And the reason is because of the limits of your eyes. You know, our eyes can't see this really subtle differences, you know, that we see here. So that's how that works. You know, but I think it's kind of cool. I really do.
It's very cool. Oh my!
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
This there's something about it with that depth.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a depth perception to what we're seeing right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, I really like how when you look like at a place like this area here, all right, look at all the variation in here, all the many different objects. Look at the colors in here. You see a patch of really dark stuff here, a patch of much darker stuff there, then a patch of the lighter stuff there. This is all different mineralogy that we're staring at here. You know, this crater here was filled in by a lava flow, probably from the impact that caused it. And that's why when the craters look like they're flat-bottomed, well, that's part of the reason. They're getting filled in by the lava that flowed after the impact. You know,
Yikes.
I mean, think of it as like, you know, if this was water, okay, and you poked a hole in this hard shell, all right, like a depression in this hard shell, it would fill with water to a certain point, okay, and that's what the lava is that filled these craters, you know, that kind of thing. But we also have things like when impactors strike the moon, we also have debris that falls in from the sides. Okay, forms terraced craters like Copernicus. That's a terraced crater. If you look carefully, you can see that Copernicus has these terraces around the inside edge. All right, and these terraces are separate and distinct. And the crater that is Copernicus has a central peak here, and those central peaks are part and parcel to what we call complex craters. Simple craters are just little bowls like this guy here. They look like they're just gouged out little bowls. They didn't go deep enough to have lava flow out. They just gouged a hole. They blasted a hole. And then debris falls down from the sides and makes a little tiny flat bottom in these craters that you can see, especially on the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Quick Map, which I encourage all of you to go check out.
Yeah, I didn't even know that existed. The Lunar Reconnaissance what map?
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the chat
cool.
right now.
Excellent. That's great. Wow, what a resource.
Yeah.
That terracing, I just want to ask you, do we have a time frame on when that would have happened? How was it, like immediately on the heels of the impact, or over millennia, or what's thought about that?
I agree. Good question, and I can explain how that happens. The cratering process differs depending on the size and energy of the impactor that's striking a body, okay? And when we look at craters like these little guys here, well, the impactor strikes, and when it hits, it releases so much energy that if you saw it hit, it would look like a flash, okay? Because you're getting instant heating, and it would vaporize the thing that's striking the moon, the meteor. We know this because we've analyzed the crater falls, everywhere on the moon. And when something like this hit Copernicus, well, the Copernicus crater, okay, the impactor here was only a fraction of the size of Copernicus, but because of the energy that it struck with, the crater is blasted out even more. Because you can imagine, once something starts moving, it's going to push other stuff along with it in all directions as it hits. So during that process, the first thing that happens is there's an initial hole that's blasted out, and now the impactor is usually disintegrated and mixed into the stuff ejecting from the crater too. All right, and that's called a transient crater. All right, then after that, and this happens within a few seconds actually, depending on the size. Obviously, it can take some minutes, but after the transient crater forms, almost immediately stuff starts falling in from the sides. It's sort of a rebound reaction. And some of that process creates this little bloop in the middle, like you see in water. When you drop a pebble into water, what comes up from the middle? A little bloop. And you see this thing come up in the middle. Well, in a sense, that's kind of what the central peaks are in the complex craters. Okay? And so this crater here has the central peak, and that central peak is the bloop. Right? The material fell in from the sides and made this large area come up. Now, why did that happen? This is rock. Why did that happen? Because if you strike rock and pulverize it hard enough, then what happens is it undergoes something called liquefaction, and it runs like water for a short period of time. You can see this by taking, if you take a square block and you place it on a vat full of sand, all right, and you do what's called, you add it to like a shaking table, and you shake it at a certain frequency, the block will disappear out of sight like it's sinking in the water. Turn off the vibrations, and now it's held fast, halfway into this sand. And you go, wow, that's freaky. Yes, that's liquefaction. That's what happens with the impacts. The energy that translates through the lunar surface at that time is enough to shake things up and make meteors sink. Make the appearance and actions very much like water, in a sense. So you'll see that some craters look like splashes. Okay, and like this looks like a splat. All right. Well, a splat doesn't occur with rock. A splat occurs with mud or something else that's more pliable. But under high speed and temperature and pressures, we can get this liquefaction to occur because the vibration's like causing this mega earthquake at that point. And so the ground is being shaken, acts like this. That's when the terraces form. It's really pretty amazing. Now, it'll take a few minutes for the whole thing to settle out because we're talking about a large crater here. Okay, so give you an idea. This is Plato up here, this black one. Okay. And Plato is 60 miles across. All right, so we're looking at 60 miles right here. Okay, so look at Copernicus in comparison. And I don't have Copernicus diameter offhand, but it's a little bit bigger, I think, than Plato. Maybe it's about the same. It might be 50. I can't remember. Someone then check and look it up, because I can't remember everything.
Well,
So anyway, so that's pretty cool. And so when we look at this, then we see that this particular crater, then the transient crater is the initial hole, and then the secondary process that occurs is all the infilling and the rebound, all the stuff falling from all different sides forms that bloop in the middle, in a sense, and the terraces form. And there's another process which forms, and I don't have a crater to show that nearby really, but about halfway out from the middle of craters that are hit with enough energy, you see another ring of material, like a mountain range that makes a circular mountain range inside the crater.
Right.
And it looks like a concentric ring. And that's a shock wave moving out while the soil is still in that liquefacted form.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, there's neat animations online that you can watch to see this all happen. You know?
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah.
Terry Groff says the Play-Doh crater. Yes, right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Right. And Daniel Whitaker suggests go to the beach, stand on wet sand, and rock back and forth. Liquidation.
Liquefaction. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, liquefaction. Yeah, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Yeah.
Well, it's okay. I mean, liquidation is
Yeah,
what,
but it's hardly. That's the store's going out of business. No, not right.
and that's fine though.
Yes, liquefaction.
They're
right.
easy. The words are easy to mistake, and there's nothing wrong with it. Again, there's no stupid questions. That's what I'm trying to be here for. Is to help out.
Well, you are doing, shall we say, a stellar job. Dr. Fox 2000 says Copernicus is 58 miles wide.
Thank you, Dr. Fox.
Donald Kunzer says Copernicus is 93 miles across. Okay. So there's some sort of I think they're duking it out. Okay.
Well,
no, not at all. But Dr. Fox says 93 kilometers.
Okay, yeah, right? 93 kilometers is
right.
more right.
And Tina says close enough. Right? Close enough for rock and roll. Oh, also, Tina, by the way, her puppy's name is Parker. Tina, is that for the Parker Solar Probe, I wonder?
Say yes, Tina, please. Just say yes.
Yeah. Please. Yeah.
Make it cool. Yeah, say yes. Yeah, and it's like, of course it's for the Parker Solar Probe. Duh.
What do you think, right?
Hello. What do you think I am? No, that's really good. Yeah, so I think that's pretty neat, and if we... go back to our real-time view here. The telescope is happy looking out of the dome right here. I actually made some changes in there to prevent the optics from having to worry about dew anymore. Let's see what the sky looks like.
Oh, good. So do is a don't, right?
Oh, well done.
Oh, God, I don't know. It's been a long day.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Well done.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, here's our view. As you can see, we are okay. We've got some clouds down here that you can see. And this is only a 30-second exposure. Geez, we have all the lights on in the house. What's going on here?
Yeah, right.
See, that's where I am, and this is where the dome is. So there's no connection between us. I'm actually sending signals up to satellite and down to the dome. So it's actually a wonderful connection. Yeah. I can control the dome with my telephone, my iPhone. Or iPad, and it doesn't matter because I just need internet, and internet is key. And out in Arizona, again, this is the all sky cam for Arizona here because I'm testing it. And the telescope we're using is the Arizona telescope, but we're testing it. I have behind me, which you cannot see, I have the old telescope from the dome in the office. And you might be able to see it if I do this.
Da-da-da-da. Ooh, oh, I'm dizzy. Hold on, everybody. Oh, my God, there it is. Wow, backstage.
Yeah,
wow.
That right there on the table is the other telescope. And this is my ship office, actually. You know what I should do? Just to show you.
Oh, yeah, please.
I should probably just go to Energize. Yeah, there you go. And now you can actually see the telescope sitting on the table, but not really because I haven't really increased the size here. I've got I have another camera coming that's going to be a little better than this one. Okay.
Oh, there we are.
Now you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry, little telescope. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh? So that's that's the office, and moving around. Okay, that's well, you can't see, but
well, you can see all the bolts in the wall, a la submarine. There they are.
Yeah,
right?
that's my. Yeah. Well, hey, I tell people, my office is on a ship.
Yeah.
And
totally cool.
To actually show you that, there's the portholes. Actually, wow. See, there's the portholes.
Yep.
And sometimes I do this just to make people feel like the ship is moving around.
Oh, my land legs. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, what's on the other side of those portholes? Do they actually open?
Yeah, that's outside.
Wow.
Oh yes.
So they are, as we say, at theater terms, they are practical then.
They are
I'll be
practical.
darned.
They are practical
Good to
effects.
know.
Yes, they actually work. Uh,
Excellent.
yeah, and this is a wooden lobster boat I made. Man, don't forget, I'm a model maker and a special effects guy, so this was a visual effects guy I did. Um, those are the portholes, and this whole office is a set. Okay, it's like a movie set. So if I were to go to condition red right now, okay, I can make the lights.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, and these are basically ship lights that I got, and I know it's kind of an odd shape there. But yeah, and my door, if you can see the door.
Oh yeah, look at that door. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
let's
With
go
a,
to.
what do you call it? What is that thing called? That thing in the middle that turns. I should know what that is.
That's the way you open the door. It's a hatch wheel.
A hatch wheel. Okay, that's what I was looking
Yeah,
for. All right.
yeah.
All right.
See, and there's a hook.
I was going to say that's a big, kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre looking
Yeah.
hook up there.
See the big hook up there, and it's actually up
Right.
into the ceiling actually.
Oh my God, with the chain. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So you see, this is. I figure if I got to work here, this is my office. I do a lot of work for the Navy, so this is, what happens is a lot of Navy guys will show up here, and they won't leave. Like, hey,
Oh my God, yeah.
This is cool.
Exactly. Whoa. And Daisy and Zoe Amethyst are here, by the way, and they say it's
hey,
so
Daisy
cool to
and
see
Zoe.
where you live. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't mind bringing down a tour. This is the office that controls SkyTour LiveStream and will control SkyTour LiveStream West as well.
Yeah.
Until I move to Arizona, which I have to do because I absolutely can't stand the winters in Connecticut anymore.
Yeah.
These things here that you see, that's called a cableway. And I used to call those GNDN lines. That stands for goes nowhere, does nothing. Because it just disappears into the wall on this side.
That's
okay?
hilarious.
And just disappears into the wall on that side. Okay. But now they're GNDS lines because I started routing internet and Wi-Fi cables through there. I'm sorry, not Wi-Fi cables. Cat5 cables for the shop, which is through that door into my workshop, my special effects shop. And so by doing that, I'm going to put this back up now. Oh, Gumby took a header.
Oh no, Gumby! Well, that's okay. I think he'll bounce back. Right.
He will. Okay, so let's see here. Hey, you're supposed to work. All right, hold on. There we go. Okay, so now. Okay, that's really what it's supposed to be, and so now basically, so I'll leave it like that. So now, you kind of see where I work, and I do all these things from inside here. I run the telescope from in here, dive. See, we say sub, but it's really a destroyer because submarines don't have portholes.
Oh yeah. You know what? That just didn't even really occur to me.
It's okay.
Good point.
Some
Good point.
some people don't know, and it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm all right with that. Yep. So, that said, I think that is kind of a neat a neat thing to show you. Let's go back here. We're gonna probably want to shift to some other objects here, and in order to know what we're gonna do, first of all, let me just bring up our controls and let's frame everything nicely, shall we?
Ooh.
Yeah. So guys, tell me now, have you enjoyed this so far out there? And I just want to know if you're liking what we're doing tonight. If you do, please hit that like. That'd be really nice. Hit the like, and I'd say, tell your friends to subscribe too if they haven't. I think that we have a lot of fun here. Yes, I like to show people astronomy. Yes, I love to kind of teach a little bit. I guess that's sort of in my blood. But I want you to enjoy yourselves most of all. And that's kind of cool.
Still, I gotta just interrupt you and say that I am still absolutely gobsmacked that you can make this so accessible, so entertaining. that you are just like so generous, and your meme that there are no ignorant questions, etc. Because
Yeah.
I mean that's how we learn, and yeah, I think accessible. But again, I mean it's edutainment. Is that a word?
Oh yeah.
Educational and entertaining.
Yeah. I
And it
mean, that's.
certainly, yeah.
I used to teach with, I used to entertain and teach at the same time. Actually, I've been a magician since I was in 7th grade, and I would do magic shows. So when I was a science I was a special lecturer. I would go around New England and go to these different schools with either inflatable planetariums or, kick it up a notch, not just go to a classroom and teach a class, blah, 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 but go there and really make it memorable. So I did one thing where I actually did a magic show on the school's auditorium stage for the
Wow.
entire school and did science. And so to illustrate weightlessness, I floated a silver ball in front of everybody all over the stage, and they were like, wow. So
Oh.
you don't forget those things, you never forget that kind of
No,
learning.
and it's inspiring. It catches their imagination. And
Yeah.
let's put it this way, today's teachers are up against all of the, before the schools close, but they will reopen. But they're up against all kinds of visuals with, television screens, etc.,
Yes.
music, etc. And so, in order to, you have to have an energy to get their attention and keep it, capture their imaginations.
Yeah, I like to
And
teach.
it sounds like you did exactly that.
I did, and because I felt, I was doing it before I think that anybody was. I mean, in a way, and I mean, I'm not certainly not saying that I'm special, but I actually like
Oh,
to.
oh, really? Wait, no, no. Okay. Well, I'm just going to say it again. That depends on whom one asks. All right,
All
go ahead.
right, well, okay, thanks.
Ah, you're welcome.
But like what I was gonna say was when you look at, for instance, how kids learn, they learn by actually experiencing something, not being talked at. You know, when kids are talked at, they don't learn anything. When adults are talked at, they don't learn anything. And doing a stream, you've got a lot of things against you. You're trying to explain how things work, but you're also, by nature, you have to talk at the viewers. And I don't like that. I wish there was a way to make it more accessible.
Well, that's where personality comes in, I think.
I think that's somewhat true, actually. Yeah, I do. I know, but so that said, all that said, when we look at things like the moon to teach the phases, I wouldn't just show them pictures of the phases and say, "This is the waxing crescent. This is the first quarter." I wouldn't. No, I actually get a kid or an adult even to hold a light, right, in the middle of the room, and I get a ball, and I get a bunch of kids. Okay, I get 5 more kids. Okay, total kids, right? One for the sun in the middle.
Right.
And I have one hold a ball and have everybody describe what they see. All right, and from a certain perspective. And then I pass the ball around, and it goes to the next kid. And then once they're 90 degrees away, that's first quarter of the moon. All right. And they don't, when it was new moon, the sun was behind them, and they couldn't. There was no moon to see. And then it was first quarter, and then it was waxing gibbous, and they saw the phase happening right before their eyes.
Whoa.
That's how they remember lunar phases. They don't remember it by, seeing a picture. They remember it by watching it happen. And that's what I think SkyTour LiveStream is supposed to be, and is. I mean, we make it happen right before your eyes. Like when we look at the colors of the moon, you saw that suddenly the moon has color, and then it goes away. The reason is because we're trying to actually make it look like it's supposed to look, and then show you how it can look, and it gives you an illustration of the different minerals on the moon by actually seeing them with your eyes. You don't be told what they are. Yes, there's helium-3 in the moon. Okay. Yes, there's titanium. Okay. No, look at the different mineralogy. See the different stuff, the different colors? Those are all different mineralogies and mineralogical content. That's the kind of thing you want to see, right?
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think that's
It
really
is. It
important.
makes it vivid. Yeah, it makes it real.
I think so. I think so.
And here's something vivid and real. Papa Tom is here. How are you, Papa Tom? And
Hey,
Kathy Pernasek is here as well.
hey, Kathy. Hey, Papa Tom. And Flames of War is here as well.
Yeah, Flames of War. Hello.
Yeah, I'm so glad. And I think I said hi to you, Daisy and Zoe. I'm guessing Lane is not with you tonight. Um, it was great.
No, Lane's got tummy troubles apparently.
Oh, oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. And Bobby Burgess, hello. How you doing? You guys are having fun. I think it seems that you're having some fun. I'm really enjoying your company too. So, I think it's a lot of. Sometimes it seems redundant, maybe if I talk about this stuff a lot, But some of you have seen it and heard it before. But I really would like to make sure that you guys just have a great time. Now, what I'm going to do is, because it actually looks like such a nice night, I want to move us over to look at this great star cluster. We saw it last night. I want to see it again tonight. It's called Messier 13. It's a globular cluster. And I'll move the dome so we can look at Messier 13 and Messier 92. This one, I think, when I look at this, it's called the Prize Comet globular cluster. Yeah, it's you'll see if we can get to it. It's pretty odd, but we're gonna look at that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the telescope, all right, and you'll see the moon just zip out of the shot. But I can't actually do this until I move the dome because I'm doing what's called high precision movement, where the telescope has to go to a star first, and then from there it knows exactly how much to go to get to the cluster. So I have to go move the dome. This is something that will not happen out in Arizona. And the reason is because I will be just having a roof that rolls right off the entire building. And for those of you watching, there's going to be 2 piers inside this observatory in the Sonoran Desert. I'm going out there June 22nd to actually have the building built on the 24th. And it's a one-day build. They're going to build the entire building in one day. Talk about a good crew. And then we're going to have the roof, and the roof's going to be made of metal because if there's brush fires, you got to be careful about burning embers falling down on your brand new building. So they land on the roof first, and that's usually where the fire starts. So this way, the burning embers, if there are any, will land on the metal roof, and they will just fizzle out harmlessly. And I'll be controlling all that. I wrote a software program to control the telescope and control everything going on in the observatory, and I've tested it here, and I'll be installing that here on this telescope just to go through the motions of making sure it works. I tested it on the bench. It works great. And we're going to be able to move the roof on and off, and it has fail-safes, things like it can't roll the roof back on if the telescope is sticking up into the air, and it could slice the telescope off.
Yeah, right.
We've got to make sure before that happens, the telescope has to be in what's called a parked and safe position. And then the roof goes back on. And I even wrote a program to literally use what's called a stepper motor to rotate off the cover on the end of the telescope. It'll just come off and go back on with the stepper motor. So it'll go, and now we're ready to observe.
Wow.
Yeah, and that works too. I tested that as well. So we're going to have some really interesting times out there. But that's not to say that things won't go wrong. Luckily, the person who lives on the property is a former Lawrence Livermore scientist. So
you can't get better than that.
No, you can't. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave everybody with you, Carol, and I'm going to go out and just move the dome to where it has to go in the sky. And as I said, our sky is looking really nice right now. The clouds are being held at bay.
Yeah.
All right, and we're going to be looking somewhere over here. So I'll go and move the dome now, and I'll be right back. So if you don't mind.
Listen, I'll try to entertain with songs, dances, and snappy patter. Well, maybe
Well,
not the dances.
well,
It's
wait.
radio, but okay.
Then why am I going to go
So,
out if I'm going to get that? I'd rather stay and
yeah.
watch that.
Well, it'll maintain.
All right.
But yeah, okay, go do what you gotta, and
I will
we'll
be.
just vamp till ready
All right.
here.
I shall be right back.
Okay, we'll be
Thank
right
you.
here. Oh my gosh, all you lovelies. And Lane, this is so crazy. Daisy and Zoe, Amethyst, for some reason we thought Lane, or I thought Lane was a guy, but you're saying you're going to show her, the archive version. Okay, cool. So we stand corrected. And yeah, and Papa Tom is asking Ron about his barbecue brush. Is it still working? Ron says he hasn't used it yet this year. So yeah, wow, what an incredible time to have everybody here. It's like we're all, I had to laugh when Mark showed that, or when it was caught in the telescope frame over to the left, all the lights that were on in his house. And it's like, that old meme, I can't even remember. It was some commercial thing. It was the lights are on, but nobody's home. Well, the lights are on, and right now everybody's home. So what a crazy thing. But the heavens aren't changing. I mean, in any way that's affected by any kind of virus. And that isn't going to change. The idea that we can all look up is, it's the metaphor, looking up to the heavens, literally. And Mark just does such an amazing job of making this all completely real. Ooh, Papa Tom says he had to cook in the rain today, but the burgers on the grill are great. Oh, Papa Tom, if you could just pass one of those, cyber-wise in my direction, yeah, that would be yum. Absolutely yum. I'd have to make it a turkey burger, because I just haven't, I haven't eaten. I'm sorry, I'm reading what's here. I haven't eaten red meat for a long, long time. Yeah, Ron's got squirrels. Squirrels are a problem, and I understand that. And the family cottage that we used to have when I was a kid on Portage Lake, yeah, that would, we'd open up the cottage and all of this squirrel damage. But I feed them peanuts in the backyard, so I have this different impression on squirrels. We're talking squirrels here, Mark. I see your back.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, no, take it.
Oh no, I'm okay letting you talk about squirrels.
Okay. Yeah. And Tina, oh my gosh, you're in Southern California. Well, so am I. What do you know?
How about that?
Yeah. And yeah, this is calming. It's calming. It's reassuring, and at the same time, we're absorbing this information that Mark so freely gives to everybody. We're just absorbing that. That's in our subconscious.
Well.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the thing is too. You may not realize that you're actually learning something, and I think that that's really part of the fun about this, is that you don't even realize you're learning, and you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And learning is fun when it's done right, and that's part of my process. I think that it should be a happy time, something fun. And if you don't like it, then you're not going to want to stay there and do more. So
Yeah.
here, the moon is now, this is the live view of the moon. And I'm going to take us now to this cluster in Hercules.
And before you do that,
yeah.
I just want to interject something here from Papa Tom. He wants me to ask you, when you come back, and you are back, to check the focus on your screen. You can translate that better than I.
He may think the focus is off. Possible. Let's just take a photo and see. So this is what we're looking at right now. I'll just go to the full size. And this it doesn't look bad, Tom. This doesn't look bad. This is actually pretty good. And we're taking it with in the showing you the colors of the actual moon too. That's why it looks the way it does. I could lighten that up a bit, but it's very important to see the actual colors of the moon. It really shows you that there's differences there.
Glorious. So. And Papa Tom adds that it's the YouTube screen, perhaps, that is at play here.
Oh, okay. Let me actually check that. Yeah, I have an excellent connection, it says. So let me maximize that and look. I can see what's going on there. I see that the YouTube screen looks like it might, at times, get a little wonky. I can see that, yeah. But it's again, I'm coming in at 1080p, so you should be able to see things for the most part. You know, for the most part, just clear. Is Tina, you're actually in San Diego? Because I've actually done a fair amount of work for the Navy in San Diego. Out at Point Loma. Point Loma in San Diego, it's beautiful. There's a naval facility there. And what's there in particular, the one that I spent a lot of time was at deep submergence. Deep submergence is basically the seat of deep underwater operations for the Navy.
Wow.
And I spent time there photographing stem to stern these deep submergence vehicles that are there, and got a chance to look at and mess around with this ADS. I think it was 5000. It was a hard suit, like the Newt suit. The elbow joints are big round spheres of steel and titanium. Yeah, I didn't get in it or anything like that, but I wouldn't even if asked. I was like, no, thanks. I'm okay on the outside. I don't want to be in a personal submarine like that. No.
Right. Tina says, by the way, that both her parents are ex-Navy.
I see that. Very good, Tina.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm doing. I just delivered a 10-foot model to the Navy that I built here of a new Virginia class submarine. That's called the Block 5. It's got some additional stuff going on that had to be shown. And then I'm building a 2-foot version of the Block 5, and I'm building 2 3-foot versions of the new Columbia class boat right now for the Newport News Naval Shipyard. So I got a lot going on, and we're actually building several of the NR1s. Look up NR1 online, and you'll see it's an orange top small submarine. It was a nuclear sub that Hyman Rickover made his pet project. NR stands for Naval Reactors. So Naval Reactors 1. And it was a deep diving submersible submarine, actually. I've been in it, and I've been on NR1 as a guest. And it's cramped. It's a small boat. It only has not a very large crew. I forget the number of the crew. A regular boat has over 100 guys on it. The NR1 has just a handful, and it's a fantastic. Well, it was a fantastic boat, but now it's been decommissioned, and they cut the top off of it, which is a fluorescent orange sail. The large thing you can see it at the Groton U.S. Submarine Museum. Which is a wonderful trip. You go there. All right, anyway, let me get us back to what I was saying I was going to do, and people are out there going, well, you just get to the cluster already? I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. It's not going anywhere. Oh, Papa Tom says he switched to HD, and it's much better.
Oh, very good. Oh, you know what? That's right, guys. Don't forget. Switch to high definition on the YouTube channel so you can actually see things in the way they're meant to be. All right, now watch the moon. It's going to disappear. Okay. Yeah, it's gone.
Woo!
Telescope is now zipping across the sky. You can see it in the whole small inset over here. You can see it moving. And let's see now. Yeah, there it is. It's now aiming out, and I got an alert on my phone that the camera registered major movement, and it sure did because the telescope moved.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
good.
neat. Wow.
Yeah, no, I have those things set up. So now what happens is the telescope is going to, and you can't tell right now because I've got it set for such a low ISO value, a low sensitivity. You can't see what's really going on right yet, but I'm going to increase the exposure, and you'll start to see some stars showing up. And guess what's showing up right in the middle where it needs to be?
Aha, there it is.
How about that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna actually do a test shot here. I know that it's there. I know it's there, but I'm gonna do. I'll do 10 seconds. No, I'm gonna do 20 seconds. I'll tell you why. I'm trying to tune the guiding system. All right, so there we go. You can see this faint thing there. It's kind of how it looks to your eye, maybe a little bit brighter. But let's just do a 20-second shot. And right now, at this point, the guiding scope should have by now picked the guide star. So I can say to take this shot. And then when we go to when it concludes, it'll bring us right to the view, and we'll actually see it.
Yeah, I echo Laura Newbert. She says cool stuff.
Oh, thank you, Laura. And of course, thank you, Carol.
Well, listen, this is cool to be here. I love it.
Oh,
wow. Oh my God, there we are.
Yeah, this is a beautiful exploding snowball of stars, it seems,
Yeah.
Reminds me of that line in, was it 2001? My God, it's full of stars,
Yeah, right. Yeah. The colors are amazing.
Yeah, and see, we're not looking at it through a filter right now. We're actually looking at it as your eye would see it. Now, not exactly, because your eye would see more blue. But what I'm going to do now is, now that we know we're here and golden, I'm actually going to change the filter. So right now it's wide open, okay? And I'm just going to move this up a little so you can see that better. All right, and now we're going to go from filter 5 down to filter 2. When we were in front of the moon, you saw the circular filter openings moving by. This is the spectroscopic one. You can actually see the spectrum of the stars in here. And when we look at the stars with their spectrum, we can tell things about the star. So what I'm going to do, let's just try this real quick while we're here in this mode. We're going to bring this up. We'll bring it back down after. And I'm going to come over here. Sorry, wrong way. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the tracking. And you'll say, why are you doing that? And you see it starting to drift. Now we're going to take a 20-second exposure. And this is going to stretch out. And when it stretches out, we might be able to see some of the lines. DK, thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Wow, that is so cool. Wow.
So we'll see what we get now. And when it finishes, we're going to come back and turn back on the tracking and then move it down. There we go. Now we have a spectrum of that star right there. And I'm just going to turn back on my tracking. All right. Okay, tracking is on. So now, let's look at this. Okay, now, when you look at the star, all right, this is the spectrum, okay? And when we're looking at it, we want to look at, it goes from red to orange and yellow to green, blue, indigo, and violet, all right? And we're looking not for lines going across this way. We're looking for lines going up and down. And I don't see any there, and I'm thinking that maybe I might actually have to reorient some things to get those, which I will. I'll be doing that. But with the new spectroscope that comes out, we'll be able to see all these lines in here. I mean, you can see one line here. Okay, this is a line that corresponds to the chemical elements in this star right here. All right, and you can see it trails off here. That's because our atmosphere gets rid of a lot of the infrared that you could see. I do have a camera that is what's called a full spectrum camera. It allows you to actually see what's actually going on in the spectrum of the star. So we will look at that as well another time. It might be that this process, I'll just have to play with this some more. I mean, it's just so fascinating and so much fun. And the real spectrograph that I get is going to actually, that's on its way. is going to be a lot better at this by far, as you'll see. You'll see these things sticking out like you can't believe. It's going to be gorgeous. Okay, so we're going to bring M13 back down into the view. All right, and move M13 a little bit toward the center again. And now let's go back and bring us to the next filter, which is this one. This is the filter that gives us the somewhat wider narrowband view. And before we actually get into that, I'm going to go into a focus mode. All right, and this is the focus mode. And I have to focus on one of the stars here, and the star has to go right here. So I'm going to bring it on over. Bring it on over.
Right. Well, you bring it on over. I just want to say thanks again for that contribution to DK0018. And he made a mention of another voice. Well, this is Carol Carl. Mark brings me on board here every once in a while, and I love it. So that's who this voice belongs to.
And there's more that she's not telling you. She is the host of the KGRA radio show on Friday nights at 7 p.m., and it's called Behind the Obsidian Curtain.
You're too sweet. Thank you, Mark.
It's your show, and you should crow about it.
Oh,
you don't crow enough.
Well, I don't. The family joke is shameless self-promotion. So I just didn't want to do that. But I see now what you're
allowed to.
What's happening? Oh, thank you, thank you. That I see that little thing there, and then that's what we're gonna.
This is a star,
yes, that
and
little thing.
I'm just using it as for focus.
Okay.
Right? And now what I'll do is, now that I've focused, I'm going to come out of this mode and bring back our beautiful cluster.
Wow.
Okay. I know it's hard to see, but you can see the faint cluster right here. And what I'm going to do is make sure that right there, all right, for 20 seconds at 8,000, I'm actually going to go to 10,000 right now. And I'm going to go to 25 seconds. And that corresponds to 2 photographic stops. Yeah, Laura, I'm with you. I mean, KGRA uses Discord, and I can't use it on the machine. It won't work. And so Discord has to be either abandoned or they have to make it work for everybody.
Yeah, I know that, even Race Hobbs is absolutely not on board for it. It's sort of, it is something you'd be prepared for it to change, indeed.
Yep. And you want to answer Tara's supposition about you?
Yeah, yes, Tara. A professional actress for a bunch of time, and then a stay-at-home mom, et cetera, and now I've just found this incredible niche on radio, and got a chance to interview Mark for Inception Radio Network. I don't think, what was that, 2017 or something?
Oh, yeah.
And then here we are back again via KGRA. Yeah, Brandon, oh God, Mark, you got me started. Brandon Thomas, you can go to kgraradio.com, and they've got all the shows up there, all the schedules, lots of archives, which are fun to dig into. And I mean, here is how strange it is. Little did I ever think I would be interviewing Philip K. Dick's widow, Tessa B. Dick, but oh yes, I have, and talked to her last night. In fact, she's coming on again in June. So
That's
the
great.
dude who wrote a Blade Runner, etc. So it's just an expansion of I don't know. My parents were in radio, so it seems like a kind of wild legacy. Yeah, thank you, DK. It's great, incredibly great to be here.
Yes, and you're very good at what you do, and I'm really glad that you do it.
Thank you kindly. Wow, you just made my day, all of you guys. So thank you so much.
Well, see, that's the thing, we're kind of a tight-knit community overall.
Yeah.
So we tend to actually kind of look out for each other as well. And if you're not saying enough about yourself, well, then someone's going to come out of the woodwork and say, will you start talking about yourself?
Isn't that,
Stop
the
being
generosity of
so
spirit
modest.
is, listen, it's
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's certainly something that you don't find in much of the, shall we say, the hardcore entertainment agency or industry.
Yeah.
Amongst actors, there's a great big I don't know, competition sort of situation. But this is, we're not really in it to be anybody other than ourselves. We're not playing roles. We're just expanding on what we find to be our passion. So,
Right.
yeah. Oh, Kathy, so much. Thank you. She is X-Lady in the KGRA chat, and she's just
Yeah.
put up a link to my show. See, this is what I mean. Again, the well, shall we say love with a capital L? It's just it's amazing.
Yep.
It does one's heart good.
It's the great audience that we have.
Indeed.
I've said that the KGRA listening audience is the best there is, and many of those same people are here in the chat tonight. So
isn't that it's
we're
just
a
so
close-knit community, and I really enjoy these people, and I'm humbled by you guys, and here I am telling you not to be modest, and I don't.
Right.
And,
No. Listen, hey, they take a little bit of your own advice there. So yeah, wow, wow, yeah. Hey, Tara, and thank you for that. Oh my God, Tara is quoting Shakespeare.
Yes, she is.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's a big Shakespearean.
There all the honor lies. Holy bananas. That is just wow.
Yeah, she is she loves Shakespeare. She told me the other day that there's a lot of Shakespearean stuff that I think she almost knows it by heart. Yeah, I mean, hey,
that is awesome, Tara. I'm just gonna, I don't want to hijack what we're looking at right now, but just have to toss this in for Tara D. There's a woman by the name of Catherine with a K, Chiljan, Chiljan, and she is an expert on who wrote the plays, like Really and Truly.
Wow.
And she thinks that it was Edward de Vere, who was the 17th Earl of Oxford, and as royalty, he just couldn't come out as the author of all of this stuff. But
wow.
She's really interesting. She's going to be a guest on my show sometime, probably in about a month and a half.
Well, that's very cool.
And with ERT Radio, facilitated by a guy named Mark Eddy, on Ron's ERT Radio, we did this fantastic interview. She's amazing. She knows her stuff. So Tara D, you might want to look into Catherine Chiljan.
Cool.
So anyway, I'm done.
When is that?
Well, the ERT Radio would have it in their archives. We did that interview, I think, about a week and a half. And she'll be coming on my show sometime, I believe, in July.
Okay. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll give you a heads up.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and Tara says that she's always thought it had to be a royal. Yeah, yes. And there was, stuff that Edward de Vere as royalty could not come forth about because it was scandalous, et cetera, et cetera. The fact that Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen, possibly even had a couple of children, and that's sort of reflected in his plays. And hey, you're welcome, Ron. Thank you for giving me that extra platform at ERT Radio.
Yeah, well, hey, what do you want? Sometimes he's okay.
Yeah, sometimes he's okay. All right, so back to the business of the sky.
Yes,
the sky tour.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, I'm okay with you talking about what you're talking about. I just have to. I'm noticing that the critical focus is not set yet, and so I'm just doing the focus. So you can go right ahead and keep talking.
Okay, so it's kind of a vamping till ready and an extension of it.
Fine.
Yeah. Too embarrassing to be an actor, Tara. It's so strange because I was such a shy kid in junior high and high school until theater came in my direction. That it was like, oh my gosh, I've got to stand up in class and recite this poem. I just would rather be, what is that expression, gouging out my eyeballs with a bent and rusted spoon. But I somehow, I did
image.
that, and then I found out, oh yeah, horrible image. But King Lear though image, I suppose. But it's kind of like I sort of, found out I could do that, and then I, turned it into a professional career. But yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy, and I could not be happier with where I am right now because it's again, It's the fact that I'm able to do this as myself, and the idea,
Yep.
I know what you mean about sharing stuff, Mark, and that teaching thing. It's sort of like, yeah, that's just the idea of being able to share information with
Oh
people
yeah,
is feels
absolutely.
so good. Yeah.
It does. Okay, that's pretty good focus. All right, so
Oh
now
yeah. Oh, there we are.
that's okay. I was actually just doing a test. So now that I'm done, I can bring this back in. It's basically just gotta move over almost horizontally because it's kind of hard to see. It's really kind of faint, but it's right here. Alrighty, so I'm gonna do. Let's do 25 seconds. And we'll do it at 8,000 first because I want to keep the noise down. Once I actually tune this guider, I can actually go up to 2, 3, 4, and 5 minute long exposures, but I'm not going to put anyone out in the chat through that because you're just going to see this screen for 4 minutes or 5 minutes. No way.
Right.
The whole idea of SkyTour LiveStream is that we show things in seconds, not the many minutes it might take. That's kind of what I say. So you don't take pictures that are more than a minute long. And I won't do it. I want to make sure that people see things as they're supposed to be. The blue color you see is part of the fact that the moon is in the sky. The filter allows some of the blue in. We're looking at it through a blue filter. Not a blue filter, but a filter that has a blue component of the spectrum coming through. And that's the location where hydrogen beta comes in and a location where oxygen 3 comes in. And oxygen 3 is represented as an O for oxygen, and then Roman numeral 3. And then when I tell you it means it's doubly ionized oxygen and not triply ionized oxygen, you'll say, well, wait a minute, it's a 3, not a 2. Yes, but O1, that is with a Roman numeral 1, is the base state of the atom where it has all of its electrons. And ionization is when an electron absorbs enough energy on the outer shells to bounce off and stay off the atom for a period of time. And then when it recombines, then we might say that it's an atom that has been ionized, followed by a recombining, where the atom's electrons come back into the atom, and every time they do that, they give off a certain color light. All right, and when we look at a nebula, like the Orion Nebula, we see there's some teal colors, or some blue colors, or some reddish colors. Those are all different elements that are doing certain things, absorbing energy and giving it off again when they come back into the atom, their respective atoms. And as they do that, they give off light. Now, stars radiate, so they're radiating light. They're the source of the light. The source of the light in a nebula is another star that's causing the atoms of gas in the nebula to glow. Now, we can't look at any nebula tonight only because the moon is out and they will not show up very well. Okay, so that's why we can't really look at those. However, yeah, they won't show up. And people ask me, well, what about the comets? And why can't we look at comets tonight? Well, we can try. The only problem with comets right now is that we're not going to see too much because the moon is really, really bright compared to the comet, and that's gonna hurt us. We're not gonna be able to see much because if you recall, when we took pictures of comet Atlas Y4,
Right.
it was about as bright as this background. Okay, right here. Mm-hmm. It was about as bright as the background, and it was darker in the background. So without the moon, it's easier and far better reason. Laura's leaving. Is that what happened? Is that what I missed?
She is. Yes, she is going to bed, and she has been replaced, if you will, by Irish Simmer, who says the moon from Ireland is very yellow.
Ah, interesting. Well, Irish Simmer, it's nice to see you. And I assume you're from Ireland.
Yeah.
We actually have someone that comes in from Argentina and from other places around the world. James Dugan is from Australia. We have David Schmidt from, well, he's not in Bangkok anymore, but he's near Bangkok. He's in
Right.
Thailand. He was teaching, but of course the schools are shut down right now. And that'll be that. We'll be back in business before long. Not to worry. So this is
Yeah.
this beautiful cluster. Tens of thousands of stars here in Messier 13. It's one of the brightest clusters like this in the sky, but it's not the only cluster like this in the sky. And what I'd like to do is see if we can go look at one of the other clusters that are nearby that are very interesting to look at. And we're going to try and go down here to M92. First of all, let's just study Messier 13 for a sec. Messier 13 is literally it's like 22,000 light years away. Okay, and it's got tens of thousands of stars, and it's a fairly bright, looks like an exploding snowball of stars. That's a globular cluster. These are called halo objects. These are outside of our galactic plane, except if they're passing through the plane, and they orbit the galaxy in really odd, circular orbits, but from far away. So they can pass down through the disk, keep going, and they'll end up, coming back into the disk on the way back in, and then keep going up high above the galactic pole. And that's what we see, So the farther away they are, the smaller they tend to be, because they're all roughly around the same size. But they do have many, many stars. Omega Centauri is probably one of the biggest in the sky, and it's actually going to be visible from SkyTour West. And we will look at it.
Outstanding.
It's the size of the full moon.
Oh my God.
Yeah, imagine. Okay, when we look at the cluster we just saw, okay, this one here, okay, imagine now we're talking about something that's gonna be this big in the view, literally the size of this entire view, top to bottom. Okay, is how big this thing is. That is huge. So, yeah.
Staggers the imagination.
It does. It's a staggering thing, All right. So now M92 is where I'm sitting right now, and I'm now going to tell the telescope to go there, and you'll see the stars zip away here momentarily, I hope, if all still works. And off we go, and there it goes. And you can hear the telescope.
There, I love that noise.
And now the telescope is putting a normal star in right now, and it's actually this star right here. It's adding this star here. This is Eta Hercules, right? Also known as 67 Hercules, Hipparchus catalog number 84380. And once it lines up on that star, it knows exactly where to go to get to here. This is especially necessary when we're looking for very faint objects, because when we do that, this will help us. Because believe me, you can't tell there's a globular cluster here, but it's right here where my arrow is. Right there. How do I know? Because I'm brave. You ready? Let's go.
Buckle up.
Okay, 25 seconds at 8,000. I don't know if I gave enough time to actually get a guide star, but we'll see. I'm just anxious. What do we got? No clouds. Yay. Just the ugly old moon.
Pesky moonlight.
Oh, it's okay. It brings us a lot of benefits, but it wasn't necessary for life on the planet, as I've said many times. Because if it wasn't there... look at it, I was right.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, it goes that way. Yeah. So there we go. Oh, and look, you can't see that. Let me see if I can bring it in for you. Let me get rid of the blue cam group for a minute. There you go.
Oh my gosh, and here comes Vera Lucia Campos from Rio de Janeiro. It's cool and clear
Ah.
tonight, she says, and she thanks you for these fantastic
Oh,
lessons,
Vera
Mark. Yeah.
Lucia. Gracias. Thank you for coming. It's so nice to see you. Um, Rio de Janeiro is beautiful. It's on my bucket list. I'd
Oh yeah.
love to see it. So I welcome you to SkyTour LiveStream. You're always welcome here. Absolutely always. Down here, you'll see that in that 20 seconds, we captured a satellite.
Yeah, there it is.
Mm-hmm. And they're just faint little lights. Now, if it's traveling this way, the next exposure I take should show it closer or somewhat nearer to the Measure 92 that we're looking at. So I'm taking the picture now. And if it's not there, it means it was moving in the opposite direction. It's hard to tell with these particular directions. Usually they're heading toward the east, and the image gets rotated. So
Would that be, in your guess, a communication satellite?
no, communication satellites typically will sit out at a geostation. Yeah, see?
Ah, oh yeah, there we go. Okay.
Okay, I had mentioned
Wow.
that's kind of where we expect it to be.
Mhm.
So when we go like this, all right, and drop it down, now it's here. See, it was down here, and then
Yeah, right.
so, and the image was like this before, and so we see that it's actually heading that way. It's heading eastward, kind of more the direction we're looking at. Yeah, that's almost due east that way. So that's pretty good. And you'll see This is Measure 92 compared with Measure 13. Okay, you'll notice Measure 13 looks bigger and more voluminous. And that's because 92, if we look at the map here, if we look at this, 92 is 26,000 light years away, as opposed to 22 for Measure 13. And that tells us that this is farther away, so it's going to appear relatively smaller to us. And that's what we're seeing.
Uh-huh.
All right, so that's kind of cool. I'll give you the full view here. Really pretty, and I can see that as temperature changes out there, the focus changes. So I do have to change the focus again. It's a common thing. You got to make sure that your focus is good whenever you're doing this, and the focus can change, and does.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I do see a faint star right there. I wonder if I can use that star. Maybe I can. Let me just drop us down a little bit and go into the focus mode. Okay.
Yeah, Bobby Burgess says the satellite just did a photobomb. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right, man. It's a photobombing satellite, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Okay, let's actually bring that in the view. What you're seeing going through the view right now is that's actually the cluster. All right, seen with a sensitive camera. We'll bring it over a little bit, and we'll see the star that I'm going to use for focus. What's interesting about astronomy, guys, is that all we ever get to see is the light coming from objects. That is how we've learned everything we've learned about the universe, is by staring at the light coming from these objects. Isn't that amazing?
Staggering.
Yeah, it's
It's
really
all about the light. Wow.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. It is indeed. You'll notice how the image is dancing a lot. This shows you how turbulent the atmosphere is tonight. But you know what? Who cares? We're having fun.
It is, because I haven't, in the times I've been here with you like this, I haven't noticed that before. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's because I haven't actually done the focus mode like this before. I actually increased the magnification of the focus mode.
Ah.
Yeah, on purpose. And then we as the star comes out of focus, it gets bigger and bloated and it's harder to see. And then you got to bring it back in. Okay. And when you bring it back in, it starts to look a little more sharp. And you can see more of it, you know.
Yeah, it's cosmic choreography, right?
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's actually kind of cool. But I'm trying to just focus a little more. Hey, look, I don't mind showing you guys observatory processes. Why not?
Yeah, it's like it's not a deep, dark secret.
No, and it's kind of fun, you know, to be part of that. Yeah, you see sometimes it's really clear, sometimes it's not. So this is still here. It's actually, if we come out of this for a minute, it's right here. So if I take another photo for 25 seconds at 8,000, we will see whether it remained or is in sharper focus. It's very, very sensitive, and the focus increments that I'm using out there from here are tiny. So tiny that sometimes it may not even be moving the focus at all. So you have to have an interesting light touch. But I'll say one thing, okay? That looks pretty good. I think I caught it. That's really pretty. And of course, the satellite is now gone because it moved on through the field. Move on through the field. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, there you go. So that's Measure 92, as you can see in it. And that's another exploding snowball of stars. But this is what they look like when they're a little farther away. Now, you can imagine Omega Centauri, which is as big as this entire field. Okay, Omega Centauri it will be this big. That's a huge globular cluster, not because it's that much bigger, but because it's closer.
Oh.
Yeah, Papa Tom, you guys have a good night, man, and thank you for coming along and hanging out with us. And I echo Ronald's at ERRT Radio comment. Sleep well, Papa Tom.
Yeah, Papa Tom, I owe you an email. I'll do that tomorrow.
You can hold her to it.
Yeah, he's getting a guest for me. Ooh, it's going to be so cool.
Really? Ooh.
Yeah, David Marler, the Black Triangle guy.
Why didn't you tell me? Dave and I are very good friends.
Oh, really? I'll be darned. Oh, my gosh. Well,
yeah.
He's somebody I tried to get years ago back at IRN, and he was just so busy that it couldn't happen. But, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, Dave and I are very good friends. And when we did the Devil's Tower UFO Rendezvous, I talked to the people that run it and said, you got to get David Marler. You got to get Lee Spiegel. You got to get so-and-so. And I gave them all the names, and they got everybody that I asked them to get. And it was a really eclectic group of very intellectual people.
Ooh.
And Dave Marler is a phenomenal researcher.
Yeah.
You could get him to talk about the Battle of New York all night long. Or Battle of Los Angeles. Battle of Los Angeles.
Wow.
Yeah, the Battle of Los Angeles.
Or Los Angeles. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to go up to a full minute on this right now. Just to give it a try. This is a test of the guiding. And let's see what else. Do we want to go to this? I think we probably want to check that out too. That is the Prize Comet Globular Cluster, NGC 6229. And this one, it doesn't have a distance, but we have a redshift, and that kind of, if we want to figure that, well, I'd have to teach you about redshift, and I probably would like to wait until I can show you some things to illustrate redshift for you.
Yeah, I just know the word.
Yeah. Okay, so we're doing a minute on this one, so let's go back, and we'll see if it's guiding right. And this is really pretty. Measure 92 looks so stunning. That's measure 13, measure 92, and we're taking a 1 minute shot. There it is. A little bit of trailing, so I need to, and it's left to right, so that's right ascension trailing, which means that I'll have to make an adjustment, and that's what I'll do now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go over here. And, well, first of all, do this. Okay, and now let me bring this up. And what we're going to do is go into the trusty computer in the telescope right now and go to the guiding system, which is 7. Drop down, go down, and now we're going to set this guiding amount. And let's set it to 10. All right. And we're going to leave the other one as it is. So now that's set to 10. We're going to do another minute shot. These are the kinds of things I do before I ever go on the air typically. So, you know, I'm doing it now with you so you can see it all happen. So you can kind of get an idea of what goes into doing this.
Yeah, it's great to see the process. This is educational.
Look who's here, Daryl.
Oh my gosh, Daryl! Hello, hello. How are you?
How you feeling, Daryl?
He says he just got up. Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
No, he was feeling a little under the weather earlier.
Yeah.
Of course, I invited him to take part, and you know he certainly wants to, but he couldn't. He wasn't feeling well.
And did anybody get the license on the bus that hit him? Yeah, listen, if only.
Yeah.
You need to make some more of your homemade chili, Daryl.
Ooh.
That'll do it.
Yeah. All right, let's go see. This is going to come in here in a moment. All right. So how did it come out? Let's go look. I dare say it's a little better. But see, the other problem that we have with the telescopes is that they're not all perfect. In spite of the fact that my telescope is really well made and is relatively high end, they don't always come out perfect. You know, sometimes they're actually the problem they have is that there's something with the drive that follows the stars, and that something is a periodic error in the gearing. And as well machined as it can be, there's gonna be some little bits of error, and that's what happens. And maybe when there's periodic error, well, I know when there's periodic error, it looks like the guiding isn't working, and you get these dashes for the stars, but that's not what's happening. You're just in the middle of that periodic error, and you can train the telescope to know when the periodic error is coming. And because this is the newer telescope, I haven't done that. So I'm letting it do everything native the way it wants to, and making only changes to the guiding parameters, because those I can't live without. I got to make sure those are changed appropriately. And you might have to change them a couple times a night, even though they say you don't have to. It's not true. You do have to change them. You know.
So it's just, in other words, the state of the art.
Yes. Okay, so this one you can see there are dashes, and that is not good at all. That's not what we want for our result. Not if you come way out and say, "Oh, that looks perfect." Yeah, no, not when you go in.
Right.
You have to have perfection. So that 10 might have been too much. So what I'm going to do is go back into the guiding process here. Then you'll say, "How the heck do you know what you're doing?" Well, because I've memorized the menus. That's how. Okay, and I know exactly what I have to do. So I'm gonna set this to 1 instead of 10. It was 5. Now it's going down to 1. Okay, and now it's gonna mean that the directions, left, right, up, and down, are gonna be much smaller. The corrections. And that's probably going to help things or hurt things. We're going to find out. This telescope, Tina,
All
is...
be revealed, right? Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. This Tina is a Meade LX 600 telescope with Starlock. And Starlock is a internal guiding system the telescope has built in. And it really is a nice integrated piece. It works very well when it works right, you know. But you have to... You have to be fluent in what it's doing, and really understand what your hardware is doing, so you can actually get some of the shots like we get. You can't just plug it in, stick it up in the sky, and take a picture and say, wow, look at that beautiful shot. Yes, it does happen. But you've seen what we do. You know how our work is here. And we have sort of paid our dues, I guess, and, worked with these telescopes for years and know some of the idiosyncratic stuff they can do. And some of it is maddening, but we know. We figured it out. We try to figure it out. Okay, let's go see. So it looks good from there, doesn't it? Hey, what about close up? Huh? So as you can see, setting it to 1 was better. Less correction it was needed because the telescope is apparently pretty darn well aligned with the North Pole. I mean, I do very, very much, try to make sure that the telescope is aligned. Yeah, Donald, I did check the focus. I know that looks like it's not, but you got to keep in mind, all right, we are not just shooting at like 400 ISO. We're shooting at 5,000. Now, if I come down, let's say to 1,000. Okay, let's go to 1,000. Okay. That's a lot of stops we just came down, but we'll do a minute on that. Okay. And you'll see what we get. It's not going to be quite the same. The star images won't be as bloated. And if the guiding is good, you'll see the stars will look more pinpointy, like they should. Again, the whole point of SkyTour LiveStream is that we can take images of objects in seconds rather than minutes. And we're using, like I said, pretty high-end camera. The cameras cost thousands of dollars. But I'm doing this because I want to be able to bring astronomy to everyone. Because I think that science and astronomy are within reach of everybody. And that's what this is all about. All of this. Oh, yeah. The telescope that was the ball, Donald says he misses his little red telescope. Was that the one that was the round ball? The round ball sticking out? Okay. Well, we had some guiding error on that one, too. It didn't guide well. See, it's a vertical thing. See, the frames are like this. Okay, in the camera, they're like this. All right? So the error, when you have it like it showed up like this, because the camera's lying on its side a little bit, it flips the image. I don't like when it does that. But really, you're looking at this. So the error is left to right, which is the tracking of the star's motion. All right. The up and down is the declination. That's the latitude type lines. I'm sorry, the longitude. Sorry, the latitude type lines. Okay. I was getting ahead of myself. And so when we look at this, okay, you can actually see how this particular object errors out, the errors that it makes. I think this has potential, though, so I'm going to actually try that again. Meanwhile, let's go see what else we can go see. Okay, we're going to go over to this prize comet globular cluster after this. The fact of the matter is, for me, the spring sky is wonderful, but only without the moon, because with the moon, we can't see any of the galaxies that we'd love to look at right now, because the galaxies are all in Virgo here, and when we zoom into Virgo, you'll see these little ovals. These are the delineations for the galaxies, and you can see how many there are. Well, we're not going to see them near the bright moon, and that kind of stinks.
Yeah.
So when the moon's out and it's bright, we actually look at clusters.
Will there be a difference in Arizona in the spring sky?
It's still the same sky, but we're going to see, it's still going to be spring sky, but we're going to actually see a lot more clarity. Okay, images like this kind of have a sort of a soft look. Out there, we're not going to have that, because the stars are recorded sharp and crisp. And I showed some photos on one of the streams of the photos I took on my tripod. And I would be willing to kind of check those out again to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So you can see. Because I want you to understand, we're talking about these beautiful locations. And I think that when you look at the whole, when you look at the entire picture, all right, you're seeing some absolutely incredible video and photos that you can take out there based on the fact that the sky is so dark. It's hard not to get a good photo.
Right, and there's that Bortle index, where are you now? What's the number? I mean, in Connecticut, what is the number? And
well, right now I have a Bortle 5 sky, and so that's sort of like orangey, kind of the orange, maybe a little bit of the reddish. And in Arizona, it's a Bortle 3, and it's like an exponential drop.
Wow.
Yeah. So give you an idea. Let's see if this will come up. Let me just go here. Yeah, we don't want that, but we do want. No, it's okay. It's what's behind it that we want to look at.
Yeah, kind of looks like R2D2 right there.
That's funny. That's the telescope.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if it's in here. No, it's got to be under. It's not under there, is it? I'm just looking for the actual. There it is, right there.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a setting moon.
Shot.
Right before I started taking photos. All right, and it was really stunning. This is Cassiopeia, and you can see this is the double cluster in Cassiopeia. This is the W of Cassiopeia, and it's blue not because the Arizona made it that way. It's because the lens I was taking with that lens, it bluified things. Thanks, Du. Thank you so much.
Yeah, talk about an entrance. Brownies for
I know,
all,
man.
Says, hey, Du W.
And all these things here, these are all dark nebula. These are all dark, snaky-looking dust in our galaxy. And this is stuff you just don't see here, Okay, this is looking out on the landscape over there. This is another shot of that.
Wow.
Let me get down to some of the other photos. Okay, now, what you're looking at here, this is Orion's belt. Okay, this is Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. And what I'm going to do, actually, let me, let's see, that is it this guy? No. I'm trying to just grab the, oh, it's down here. I missed it. I sorry. All right, this is the one I want to see. It's this guy. All right, so now what I want to do is just move this over a little. Okay, so now you can actually see the belt of Orion. So here are the 3 stars. And this nebula is called the Flame Nebula above Alnitak. And this is the Horsehead Nebula. Okay, and this is with a camera. You look at the nebulae down here. Look at all the nebula. It's really clear and crisp. And I took this picture in 30 seconds. This is a 30-second photo, which is literally unheard of, to be able to get something like this. Faint nebula like this.
Yikes.
And this is another shot that's been processed, so you can actually see. All right, so in other words, this is the unprocessed shot. Stars are still blue and purpley. Oh, wait. It didn't change my shot. Why? Oh, I know why. Maybe I don't. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, let me go back here. Yeah. In this shot, it's unprocessed. The stars are still purpley. Okay. But when I process it and get everything to the right color, then you can see all this additional nebula out here and out here. and you see faint red up here. I mean, this Orion is filled with so many things, so many amazing sights. Okay, really is. Okay, here's the Orion Nebula. This is the straight one out of the camera, and this is the processed one.
Oh my.
This is the Running Man Nebula, which is above the Orion Nebula. Okay, and you'll notice that the Orion Nebula doesn't just stop with those wisps that go out on the side like we're so used to seeing. It continues all the way around, right? And you see more out here. In fact, you see almost a three-dimensional look here. This is a semi-illuminated faint cloud, and it becomes the thing that gets in the way of the Orion Nebula and causes this to be, causes to kind of obscure a little bit here in the middle. But it goes out there, and you see how it's sort of illuminated, but very faint. Again, out here too, and out here, obscuring stars behind. These are what we're after with this telescope. We want to see all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a real sense of perspective here.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, And then this is the Pleiades. Okay. The Seven Sisters. You might not recognize them because there's too many stars. You almost don't know. Okay, but here's a process shot of the Pleiades. This is how it comes out of the camera. And then this is how I shot it. Again, all 30-second shots.
Yikes.
All 30 seconds. And this is SkyTour LiveStream West that we're looking at here. You can imagine, I was standing on a concrete slab. I was standing on the 12 by 12, 11 by 11 rather, concrete slab that the building is going on. And with a camera on a tripod using a star guider that I used to just guide the camera so I could take a longer exposure and zoomed in and not have any problems. And I was astonished. And Tara, who is in the chat, says that the pictures are beautiful. And she was at the site. She was standing on that slab.
How incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so Tara will, again, have access to the site, as will Marianne. Marianne Robb, I have to give her credit, a lot of credit. Okay, all the credit. She is very helpful. Her and her husband, Don, have supported this, and they are, I should say, Marianne is running around coordinating all the people that are going to do the build on site because she's there. And it's just amazing. She's been very helpful. Now this is an unprocessed shot of Orion, and you can see a satellite coming up through. There's the Belt of Three, there's the Orion Nebula, and here is Saiph, and here is Rigel. Now, the process shot looks like this. Have you ever seen that many stars in the constellation of Orion? And when you look closely, you can actually see there's the Flame Nebula, the Horsehead is here, Running Man, Orion Nebula.
Oh my God.
Errant Satellite, and also other faint red nebula in here. Okay, this is actually part of something called Barnard's Loop. Really incredible. And so this is sort of like a preview of what it is out there, And this is a shot of the entire constellation, all right, and with Errant Satellite as well.
Again.
And let's see if I've got the process ones for that. Yes. And now look at this. This is beautiful. And I could do this, okay, and lay it on its side. But that kind of messes with your head. If you just do it this way first, look at the red nebula down here. You can see Barnard's Loop. Again, 30-second shot. 30-second shot. So in 30 seconds we capture this. Can you imagine what we're gonna do?
It's wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. What an opportunity. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's amazing. I do want to say hi to D. Smith, who's here. Hi. Glad you showed up and came in. That's wonderful to see you.
And I think Daryl said good night.
Oh, Daryl, I'm glad he came in for a few minutes. He's got to get better. He's got to get better.
Yeah, indeed.
Hey,
well,
thanks,
all,
Stu.
Pulling for him.
Yeah, Stu, that's amazing. Yeah, thank you. And Tara, when I come out in June, I'm coming out on June 22nd, and the building is going to be built on the 24th. all in one day.
Wow.
And the roof is going to be separate, as I mentioned, and it's going to be just temporarily attached to the top so that we can get all the other work done. We have to install rails. We have to install tracks to take the roof off. And all that stuff will be done. But we have to make sure that it's done right. So anyway, so this is what 30 seconds gets you in Orion. Every major feature within Orion, almost every major feature is visible. And especially down here, this right here. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to zoom in. Again, the resolution of a small telephoto shows you this little concoction right here. You see that really weird shape right there?
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called the Witch Head Nebula. And I tried to capture that here, and it's absolutely impossible to capture it here. There, I caught it in 30 seconds with a telephoto. You know?
Wow.
So, and the Orion Nebula is way overexposed, and the Running Man way overexposed at 30 seconds. So you can see that we've got really a lot to look forward to, guys. So that said, I'm really pleased that we got a chance to, go out there and do that, and we're gonna be taking more photos. This is the other photo I took that I thought was pretty cool. This is without processing, and this is with processing.
Whoa.
This is called the Rosette Nebula. And what's the Rosette? Well, I can show you what the Rosette is because we know what the Rosette is. We've seen the Rosette. But I'd have to show you Orion, and Orion is set in Monoceros, which is to the left of it, eastward, in other words. But the point being, this here, this thing showed up in 30 seconds with all of its detail, and it's something that just wouldn't be so obvious. Here's fainter nebula down here that is visible and ringing it all the way around. This is a gorgeous nebula, and look at the stars. It's like the stars are almost too plentiful. You have to knock them back a bit so you can see the nebula.
Move along. God, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, a pink ducky. Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
I like that, Dee. But you know what else? Instead of a pink ducky, it actually looks like a rose. It's a cosmic rose blooming for us for millions of years.
God.
Which I think is kind of cool. So the Rosette, again, boy, when we get out there and we look at the Rosette, I cannot imagine how good that's gonna. I can imagine how good it's gonna look. It's gonna be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see it. So there you go.
Wow.
That is our our tour of SkyTour LiveStream West for now, and I'm just gonna try to do this, get this shot. We'll go up to 4,000. So yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah. Tara D says incredible, and Ha says priceless, Mark. And Daisy and Zoe Amethyst say yes, a rose.
Yeah, but D Smith says
Right.
I'm sort of fond of the ducky. Yeah, you know what? No argument. You win.
Yeah, and you're not quackers at all, D Smith.
Oh,
sorry.
You win. Oh.
Yeah, I had to do it.
Yeah. And my computer out there in the observatory is warning me, I want to update Windows. And I say, no, you're never updating Windows. I shut that right off. There's a program that you can load and run on your machines that will prevent Windows from being updated. Because every time it gets updated, it screws something up.
Yep. It's the truth. It's like a down date. Okay? I don't know. Yeah, Trish D says she wish she had half the brain cells that you have.
Oh.
So say we all.
Oh, you know what? by the time you're done listening and I've given you all the information I can, you will have exactly all the brain cells as me, because you'll have taught your brain cells new storage mechanisms, and they will actually pull in this information and you'll remember it. Case point, Amanda Curran, my co-host on SkyTour Radio, co-host on SkyTour LiveStream, who she knew nothing about astronomy when we started, and now that girl is amazing because she'll actually interrupt me to finish my sentences about stuff now.
I love that.
And me too. And I'm not at all offended by it. I think it's great because she's so excited that she says, "Oh, I know," and she'll answer. And you know what? She'll be right. I'm really proud of her. She's really, really come a long way. And this is, again, Measure 92. Looks pretty right now. And I'm going to, let's go and see if there's a way to get, and there's a way to get to what I want to get to here. Let me center us up here.
Before we get too far away, I just want to interrupt you, Mark, and say that Donald Kunzer says, "Arise, arouse, arose, a rosy nose," quoting the Nowhere Man in Yellow Submarine. Amanda would like that. She's a Beatles fan. Yeah.
She would have known what it is without even knowing, without even hearing the attribution.
Exactly.
She would have known. Okay, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to actually go to this other globular and check it out, because I think that this would be... Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I think I actually quit the program. How silly. All right, let's just bring it back. All right, let's bring this back.
Bring it back.
I know.
Yes. Bring it all back.
Bring it back. There it is. That's the camera.
Ah.
I created an automated system to do that part of it. All right, so now we have this guy. We're here, and now what we're going to do is tell it to go there. So I hit the key to get the telescope to move. You'll see the faint stars move like that. They're gone. And now this is the indicator of where the telescope is, and you'll see it move. It's going to move to a star near that object, and it's going to be this star here, right there. That is Eta Hercules, and then once it centers it up, it's going to zip off to this other location. All right, and there it is. So now it's going to be aligned on the Prize Comet Globular Cluster.
And D. Smith is saying, "Just one more," right? Your new middle name.
I know. I'm Mark. Just one more, D'Antonio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Did you see Tara's comment?
I did. Yeah, indeed. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Listen. Wow. Wait. Deleted. What? Oh, I didn't mean to. Oh, did I do it again? Oh God. All right. Okay. Where's Dee Dee? I guess she's gone. Oh. Yeah. There we go. No, I see it now.
I brought it back for you.
Okay. Oh, bless your heart. Yeah. Yeah. It's a real interesting thing there. Yeah. Shakespeare wise. Okay. Super duper. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Yeah, Trish G says it looks more like a pink chick. Well, chick, duck, birds of a feather. Yeah, and Vera Lucia Campos says rose by any other name. Yep. And Donald Kunzer adds chirp. Right. I love this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Great brains, great sense of humor.
I agree. We have great people who listen. And again, I think I said it before, but Vera Lucia Campos, I want to welcome you to SkyTour LiveStream from Rio de Janeiro. It's a phenomenal place, and I wish I could go. Wish I was there to check it out. Maybe someday. It's like I said, it's my bucket list. Look at that little globular cluster out there.
Whoa!
Check it
That's
out.
Amazing little tiny thingy.
Look at that. Yeah, it's actually somewhat far away. That's why it looks this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And again, the blue in the sky is because of the moon. All right? But that's really cool. Guess what? I've never seen this globular cluster. I've never looked at it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
This is the
God, we're
first
all
time.
honored to be like with you as you see this.
Yeah.
This is terrific.
Yeah,
Wow.
and what's neat is it seems like it has two elements to it. See, it has the main cluster and it has this extra little lobe there, which it may be because there might be some dark obscuring material between us and the stars there.
Wow.
Really pretty. Wow. Oh, see, now I gotta try and do something with this. I gotta try and take a picture that's gonna be really a little bit more. Let's crank up the ISO to 8,000 and do another 30-second shot, shall we? Yes, we shall.
Oh, indeed. Just one more.
Yeah.
Vera Lucia Campos. I just have to say that Antonio Carlos Jobim is my favorite composer. His samba music. Oh, Tom Jobim, they called him. What amazing stuff he brought to the world.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
See.
Yeah. So tomorrow I have another rapid prototyper being delivered, mostly for Navy work, but bottom line, oh, look at that. Wow. Okay, hold on.
Oh, my.
Wow.
My.
Clusters and galaxies and nebula. Oh, my.
Right.
That's not how it goes.
Well, close enough.
Oh,
And you
look
are
at
the man
that.
behind the curtain. But we do listen to you. We do pay attention to this man
You
behind
do,
the
actually.
curtain. Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh,
Look at
my.
That. Look at that cluster. That is amazing. Yeah, it definitely can benefit from this higher ISO, Yeah, the ISO is what you set the camera to increase the sensitivity. Many cameras have, 400 speed. That's the speed, 800, 1200, 3200, 6400, 8000. The camera we're using goes to 409,000. And to give you an idea of what that's like, I'll actually pump up that ISO just to show you what happens. Okay, so now this is 40,000. This is 51,200, 64,000, 80,000, 102,400. Let's just do one at that for now. So that's a hefty speed. Now I'm only going to do 10-second shots. You'll see why. Okay, 102,400. You ready? For 10 seconds. So we are many, many times more sensitive right now. And you'll see what it does to the images, and this is why we don't often use it. Okay. Here you can see that in 10 seconds, it's way brighter than it was for 30 seconds at the lower ISOs, okay? And we can still see some of the detail, but if we zoom way in, see all those boxy looking things? Those are noise artifacts. Yeah. It's noise from the sensitivity. And it gets worse with the higher you go. So if we're at 102,400, let's go up several more. And this will be, 10 seconds at the highest, 409,000 ISO. Are you ready? 10 seconds.
Hanging on. Yeah.
And now you're going to see that it's exactly, Donald, too much background. That's why we leave the ISO way down low as best we can. And it's a balance. I want to give you shots that you can see and enjoy, but I don't want to make you wait around for them. So I kind of monkey with that. So you see, this is the color now, the change. This is pretty much unusable. You can't tell it's a cluster. It almost looks like a fuzzy star. And that's because of the fact that it's the ISO is way too high for what we're doing. So we're going to knock the ISO down. It could also be too low. Okay, low. So let's see if we set the ISO to just say 500 and do a 10-second shot. All right. Now you'll see what we get for that. Oh, you mean the comet? That was the
sorry.
Comet Atlas Y4, Trish.
Yeah.
The Hubble Space Telescope took a photograph of it, and it's broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly 6 separate pieces. And I had predicted before it broke up into that many pieces that it probably would not survive its passage around the sun. And I'm thinking that it may not survive the passage around the sun. Red light. I had to turn on my red lights because I have them set on a timer. And that timer shuts them off at 12:30. And it's sort of like an alarm clock for me saying, okay, time to go to bed.
Oh, come on, just one more.
I know. So when we looked at this, you can see almost nothing at 500. So the sensitivity matters, okay? So if for 10 seconds, for us to actually see it, if we get to about 1,000, all right, so 1,000's like going to be literally, that's 1250, sorry. It'll be close. It's more sensitive, and as the pixels are being flooded with light from this faint location in the sky, we can see a little bit more, but we still can't see the object of interest, can we? Not the same way. Okay, it's there, right? But it's really faint. You almost don't know what you're looking at.
It's fuzzier.
And look at the shape. See, it's not distinguished in any way. So what we got to do is we have to do one of two things. We come back here and we either raise the exposure time, okay, or we will come back here and we might not just raise the exposure time, but look what I did.
Oh no.
Yes, I just did that again.
Yeah, the forest of arrows.
Yes, I'm going to get rid of that again. It's a bug I'm working on with the company to try and figure out what's going on. Okay, and all right, so it'll be back here in a second, I hope. All right, and so as I was saying, we have to actually take longer exposures to get that to do what it's doing. There's nothing else we can do. We got to take the longer exposures. All right.
No workaround. Nope.
No, it's a trade-off between the exposure time and the ISO. So you do a little bit of this, you do a little bit of that. So at 2,000, if we go up to say 2,000 and say 13 seconds, yes, that's actually a time. And now we take a picture. Then we'll notice that the object's a little bit more defined. It's right here, but we'll see that it's got some more haze around it, and we know there's something in there, but it's hard to see. And so we have to keep going and playing with this. All right. So let's suppose I want to go to 3,200 and leave it at 3,200, and say I don't want any more than that. All right, let's see what 10 seconds at 3,200 looks like, and then we'll increase our exposures now to bring in a proper exposure that'll show us the object. And see at 3,200, for 3,200 ISO, what do we have? Well, it looks like it's there, but it also looks like it's too fuzzy. It's not what's called resolved into the separate pieces. So up goes the exposure time. And we're going to go right up to, say, 30 seconds and try one of those. All right, at 3,200. And Daniel, I'm hoping we won't have repetitive arrow syndrome anymore.
Yeah, RAS. Nobody wants that, no.
Yes, that's like CRS. Well, maybe not.
Oh, maybe not.
Can't remember stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never a good thing.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy you folks are with us tonight while we're looking at clusters and the moon. See, that's 30 seconds right now, and you can see now that it's a little more resolved than it was before. So we know we're on the right track. We're on the right track. All right. And what we might say is, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll go up to 2 more stops here. Let's go up from 3,200. We're going to go to 4,000. Let's get to 6,400. So that's 3 stops. And then do another 30 seconds. What is that going to show us? And see, you're trading off. The higher this number, the higher the sensitivity, the more noise will be in the image. Okay, the higher this number, potentially the more guiding error will be in the image. So you have to guide well. So when we're here, okay, if we zoom in, okay, you'll notice that we don't really see noise too much on this.
A lot of color there.
Yeah, but we don't see the noise. We don't see that noise that we saw in some of these earlier images like this one. Okay, look at all that noise. Okay, in this image we just took, there's almost none. And this is the image that we just took now. Okay, so it's a little bit better resolved, and we're actually seeing that the noise problem it's there, but it's not as bad as the 409,000 image was. Yeah. So that's what it goes into this. And so when you're doing photos like this, guys, what you'll do is you might take 30, 40 images of an object before you figure out what is going to be the best settings. And for this object, I've never taken photos of it before, but inherently I know that we're probably, to actually get it to look really good, we're probably talking about 10,000 for 30 seconds, and that's going to be a good middle of the road values for this. 10,000 sensitivity ISO and 30 seconds of exposure. Yeah, Daniel, I don't think it's going to survive the passage around the sun. It's already broken up into many components, and that means more surface area that can get affected by this thing, by the sun. All right, well, there you go. So this is now the object with the moon out, okay? And what's our sky look like? Oh, no wonder I was getting problems. I was wondering why.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, these don't have to be streaky clouds, because this is a 30-second shot, remember. This could be a puffy cloud that's being dragged out by the exposure. In fact, that's probably what it is. So the clouds kind of spell the end. It's like, oh no, Will, we're all going to die. Will, go see what the aliens want. Not me, Dr. Smith, you go. I'm not going to go see him. Oh no, we're all going to die. Remember that?
Danger, Will Robinson.
Jonathan Harris.
Yes. What a guy.
Danger, Will Robinson. You cantankerous ninny? You know, what do you say? You bombastic bubblehead?
That's great.
There's people that talk about all the many different things that Dr. Smith called a robot, and there's a list of all the things he said. You cantankerous contraption, get out of my way, you tin-plated booby.
That's wonderful.
Yes,
wow.
You tin-plated tintintabulation.
You know, it was a compelling series in spite of the cardboard sets, you know, and the stuff that wobbled. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I had the original Jupiter 2 from the show here. It was a cast made from the original mold of that model.
Oh, my gosh.
The studio model, yeah. And a guy drove it here from Los Angeles in the back of a pickup truck. It was tied down with rope. And he drove it all the way here and dropped it off and said, hey, man, you can have it. And he disappeared into the sunset. And I was going to work on it for many years. And in the interim, I got a Jupiter 2 project for somebody else. And it was a smaller one, which I worked on that kit for a while. But then, as happens, you know, they run out of money. They can't finish. So I basically put it in storage until they can. Well, in the meantime, I build the observatory, and Bill, New York Skywatcher, comes up with Keith and Paul from P&K Space Imaging.
Wow.
And Keith sees the Jupiter 2. And he goes, is that? Yes. No. Yeah. Really? Yes.
Oh, what a moment.
Yeah, it was a great moment, especially when I told him he could have it.
Whoa, Nelly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I've never seen a human being pack a 300-pound prop into the back of a pickup truck faster than him. With eyes so wide, I thought he was gonna, like start like ripping him open.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. What a story. Oh my God.
I told him he could sell it, but we have to split the profits 50-50 if he does that.
Yeah.
But if he's going to use it for a set in his studio, then that's fine. He has to finish it down to do that if he wants to. But I gave it to him, and I told him he could do what he wants with it. But if he's going to, do the sale thing, then that's a 50-50.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing's worth some money, obviously, because it's a real movie prop,
Right.
or TV show prop.
Yeah.
I've had a number of things here like that. I've had the Draconia from Buck Rogers. Remember Buck Rogers in the 25th century with Aaron
those old
Gray?
black and white. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, not the black and white.
Oh, you mean the
remake?
Not the original from the 30s, but
No.
the going forward. Yeah.
The remake with Gil Gerard as Buck Rogers and
Right.
Felix Sia was Tweaky, beady, howdy, Buck. That stupid thing.
Yes.
Hated that thing. And then, of course, Aaron Gray was Wilma Deering, right? Well, somehow, I think it was through Jude Talaba, who is a good friend and also has been part of FX Models in the past, and we're still good friends. She was at a Comic Con, and Gil Gerard was there with Aaron Gray. And
Wow.
she told them that I had been working on this Draconia model from that series. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting at dinner, and the phone rings, and it's Aaron Gray. And she's talking to me about the Draconia. She says, oh my gosh, I remember that model. Oh, it's wonderful, and real sweet lady. And then I hang up with her after about 20 minutes, and the phone rings again. And it's Gil Gerard. He goes, I just heard you got the Draconia. What's going on, man? And so it was just a really nice set of calls. It was so funny. I didn't expect that,
Wow.
And then on top of it, they were at a comic convention, and they sent me signed 8x10s of their characters, which was really kind of nice. So I have these pictures out there of them. And I also have Biff from, he signed a picture for me too and sent it to me. Biff from Back to the Future, remember?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
God, outstanding. That is very cool. Oh my, the fringe benefits.
I'm actually looking at aerial drone. Welcome, aerial drone.
Yeah, me too.
Aerial drone, a better view. You're absolutely right. And let's just talk about drones for a moment. I have a whole fleet because for a while I was sort of like the go-to guy for drones in Connecticut because I was making my own with Lawrence Livermore scientists. We were actually building drones that can actually do things like rescue lost children, things like that. And so now, because of the sheer variety of stuff out there, I've just said, look, I defer to all the people that exclusively do this. I did not exclusively do this. So I have a drone that has an infrared system, so we can hunt fugitives or we can find lost children. I have a drone that does 4K video, so we can actually get gorgeous stabilized video from above. Then have a heavy lift drone that can actually lift a regular DSLR camera, and has retractable landing gear. And it's not the Inspire by DJI. I don't really like that drone. That's just a quadcopter. I needed more propellers for more stability, and in case I lose a propeller, you got to be able to still control the drone. You lose a quad propeller, and it's coming down. So minimum hexacopter, and if you lose a prop, then the rest of the props can kick in and actually balance the flight in a crippled but stable manner and bring it home.
Right, so it's not a crash situation.
No, not when you're flying $3,000 or $4,000 worth of equipment, right? And the infrared system is very expensive, right? I mean, those are very expensive. I spent $3,000 just on that, and it had to be small enough to fly. So kind of cool. But so I actually I'm big into the drone arena. Carbon fiber systems are important. I use them because they're stable and don't really get buffeted too much by the wind, actually. And they can survive hard landings better. So yeah, and he's saying, let's see what he says. He says, show us the outer ring of the moon in the background facing as if we're looking at it from Earth. He keeps repeating, I'm not sure at this moment, please, but up close. Yeah, the industrial drones are actually quite good aerial. But then again, you're going to pay for those. You can actually build your own. There's so many 3D printers that you have access to out there now that you could actually 3D print a drone, all the components. And I was using drones before they actually flew themselves. You had to fly them. And before there was intelligent brains in these things, I was actually the intelligent brain flying them,
Right.
They didn't return to home, Oh, Tara, thank you for coming, and good night. I know it's kind of late for you. It's almost 10 o'clock out there where you are. So, but that's okay.
Yeah, good night, Tara, and take care.
Yeah.
Dream Shakespeare.
Yeah. And Ariel, I can't show the moon now because the fact that it's the telescope dome is facing the wrong way right now. And I've already moved. The telescope dome will have to actually, let me show you that. The telescope dome, if you look here in this image, telescope dome would have to face this side more. And in other words, I'd have to go out and move the dome. And I don't want to do that. Donald Kunzer, thank you for coming out. And it's good timing. We're about to shut down for the night anyway. I don't believe that with the moon out as it is, there's not a whole lot we can do right now. We can't look at any comets because you won't see them with the blue. And that's just not good. We can't look at galaxies because you're not going to see them, unfortunately, with the way things are. We could see the cat's eye.
Cool.
I wonder if that's something we'll be able to see right now. Let's see where we are here. Might be. Let's try just one more.
There he goes, living up to that middle name. And Ariel Drone makes a comment that he's in Minnesota and there's a big outer ring around the moon tonight. Most likely it's the glow, but at the same time he says if you can adjust your perception view, it can be something. He's getting at something big behind the moon, etc. And that ring, isn't that a meteorological thing? Isn't that like moisture in the atmosphere? Okay.
It's actually prismatic refraction off of ice crystals. It's called a moon dog, and it's something that is. There's your telescope sound.
Oh God, I love that.
It's something that is very pronounced, and if you measured it, you'd find that the rainbow starts 22.5 degrees away from the moon. And the reason it's at distance has to do with the angle of refraction and how it works with ice crystals in the atmosphere. Okay. This is our object we're looking at right there, and I'm going to just bring it in. This is called the Cat's Eye Nebula. It's really a really pretty object. So I want to kind of showcase this for a moment. Let me just grab the computer and do a few things, make this thing move faster. Here we go. Okay, and now we do not need to do 30 seconds at 10,000. In fact, that'll be devastatingly long. But we could do maybe 500 for 10 seconds, but that might be a little too long, but we'll try it. All right, and I'm giving the telescope time to capture a good guide star. I'm just gonna drop us down a little bit. I know last time I looked at this, it was really pretty. Okay, this is 10 seconds at 500. The idea is not to show every last detail, but to show just some of the detail. And I may have to focus again. But look at that. See, that's the cat's eye, and I want to I do have to focus because there's more to this than this. Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just a little off. So let's do this. Let's go back to here. And let's just go up 15 seconds at 500. Daniel, yeah, just one more.
Yeah.
Dan, yeah, Ariel, you probably have upper level cirrus type clouds, ice crystals in the atmosphere, causing what you're seeing to happen up there. Okay, now this is 500, so we're not getting too many additional stars. That's not intentional, just to show you, because you can actually see some fringe on this thing that's a slightly different color, right? And that's what you see with the cat's eye. There's also we're not exposing long enough to see what's inside, but we'll do that in a moment because we're doing just one more.
Yes. Aerial Drone asks an interesting question. Do you have any thoughts, Mark, about the possible planet captured moving between the sun and the Earth, or possibly behind the sun, that occurred recently? I saw something about that on the internet, but I didn't pursue it.
There's actually an asteroid that was a near-Earth asteroid, or an NEO, a near-Earth object. It wasn't a planet. There is no other planets that are moving through our solar system. So asteroids, though, do that on a regular basis. In fact, they've hit us a couple times, right? That's theory, but the definite one was the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, which is at the time when we actually lost all the dinosaurs. And that's a good thing we did because it paved the way for us. Who knows what we'd be like if there were no extinction events after dinosaurs rose to power due to an extinction event. Okay, and we got a slight bit of dome interference. Can you see that glow? That orange,
yeah, kind of pinkish red, orange red, yeah.
Yeah, the telescope, it's just basically saying that the dome is a little bit in the way, but the focus doesn't seem that bad, and we're seeing this nice fringe because that's what's around the cat's eye, is this beautiful little fringe. Yeah, but anyway, I was hoping we could see it unencumbered, but I guess we can't. It's all right. I am very pleased, though, with tonight. We had a number of people come out for the first time, which is great to see them. And if you all are interested, I will be doing another one of these streams as soon as it's clear again, because I am a maniac.
Yeah, that's the word.
Is that really the word?
Yeah, well, a good maniac, I suppose,
I hope so.
For the positive good, the astronomical good of us all. There's the rosette.
No, this is the ducky.
Oh, the ducky. Well, I stand corrected. Quack, quack.
I don't see the duck. I don't know how.
I kind of do. I have to turn my head to the side, and I sort of see a duck, but it's got like a dark center, so I don't know.
Maybe that's a soft, chewy center.
There we go. Of a peep. How about that?
It's not yellow.
No, that's true.
Well,
but recently colors. Peeps have come in different colors. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. They do. You're absolutely right. They do. Huh.
Dee Dee is saying good night and thank you.
Dee Dee,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Dee Dee.
Thank you so much for your sniping efforts. Although, you know, and she knows this too. She said, I think, on SkyTour LiveStream, we don't tend to push people's sensibilities to the point where they feel they've got to kind of act out. You know, people are very nice here, and they sort of self-police. You know, come on, I'm a science guy. If you don't like science, well, then maybe you might act out. But people are attracted to this stream because they like it. They like science.
Yeah.
And science guys like me, just we're a sucker for a good, you know, a good group of people that want to learn. You know, that's why I always do one more, maybe one more, because I'm just very, very pleased, you know, that people enjoy it. No, I know, Dee Dee, you're not leaving.
Right.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm going to be.
And Daisy and Zoe Amethyst throw out that it's a marshmallow peep. Okay, yeah.
That's
Okay, there
right.
we go. Yeah.
That's right. Well, yeah, the marshmallow peeps. Oh, there's a funny one that shows an actual, you know, chicken, a little chicken chick, and it has two peeps on one side and one yellow, you know, two yellow peeps on one side and one yellow peep on the right. And it's the chick is saying, "Oh man, this is so bogus," or something like that. It's a lineup. It's supposed to be like a lineup.
Right.
And it's got three fake ones and one real one. Well, duh, who did it? You know. So
yeah,
like,
one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is
Sesame
so
Street, right?
that is so bogus, right? You know, yeah.
Hilarious.
Very funny stuff. Well, folks, hey, look, you know, I have enjoyed your company, and we're gonna do this again when we can actually get a clear night. All right. So I'll leave you with this view.
Damn, that's
Arizona.
gorgeous. Oh.
Yeah. As the moon was setting, my excitement level was just climbing because I knew that these saguaro cacti were going to be against the black of night. And the direction I'm looking, by the way, in this direction, there is no light for about 100 miles. No light for about 100 miles. Behind me, though, there's light 67 miles away in Phoenix. So up to about 45 degrees in the sky, you have a light dome of Phoenix. But that's in the eastern sky. And that's the stuff that's rising. The southern and southwestern sky and western sky, where everything is going to be for the last half of the season, is in beautiful darkness. And there's always something to see there. So we aren't going to have a problem. But even in the brightest part of the light dome from Phoenix, it's still darker than many other places. So I'm really pleased. Yeah.
That's incredibly exciting.
Peeps in space, David Schmidt.
Right, exactly, David Schmidt. Very funny.
Dave Schmidt, our Thailand expatriate or expat, who's a teacher out in Thailand. So nice to see all the different people here. So you guys have a good night. Carol and I, we going bye-bye. And we will see you on the next clear night. Okay, guys? Enjoy the rest of your evening. And remember, if you go outside, keep looking up.
Unless you're driving, as Amanda would say.
Yes, exactly so. Good night, everybody.